Hey guys, welcome to Philadelphia Live. We have so much to talk about. You are taking a live look at the White House and the U.S. Capitol. I have some breaking news and we are all going to get it together, all together. So first and foremost, we were looking forward to this 8 p.m. deadline in which we learned that Iran was supposed to make a decision whether to reopen the Strait of Hormuz or, according to President Donald Trump, feel his wrath, the wrath of the U.S. Well, at around 6:30, the president actually posted on Truth Social. We have it for you guys, if we can read it for you all. This literally just coming in, so bear with me as I read this for the first time with you. It says, based on conversations with Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif and Field Marshal Asim Munir of Pakistan, and wherein they requested that I hold off the destructive force being sent out tonight to Iran, and subject to the Islamic Republic of Iran agreeing to the complete, immediate, and safe opening of the Strait of Hormuz. I agree to suspend the bombing and attack of Iran for a period of 2 weeks. This will be a double-sided ceasefire. The reason for doing so is that we have already met and exceeded all military objectives, and we have already, and are very far along with the definitive agreement concerning long-term peace with Iran and peace in the Middle East. We received a 10-point proposal from Iran and believe it is a workable basis on which to negotiate. Almost all of the various points of past contention have been agreed to between the United States and Iran, but a 2-week period will allow the agreement to be finalized and consummated. On behalf of the United States of America as president and also representing the countries of the Middle East, it is an honor to have this long-term problem close to resolution. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. Again, that was posted on Truth Social at around 6:30. You're actually looking at the timestamp on your screen there, 6:32, so not long ago at all. As we begin this 7 o'clock hour of Philadelphia Live, there's a lot to discuss. First and foremost, that message that we just got from the president. A lot of people were worried whether he would be committing what they believe to be, horrible acts. They say that for so long, President Donald Trump has talked a lot about wanting a Nobel Peace Prize, and they said that he would be committing war crimes if he were to bomb innocent people in Iran. We heard from other news organizations throughout this morning that there were apparently people linking their arms kind of like chains around a lot of these power plants that we know the president did say he planned on those being his targets. And so if those people were out there in front of those areas, those locations that we've been talking to you all about, it would have been an issue then, killing innocent people, women, children, of the like. And so a lot of people were worried of what was going to take place. Also worried that if we did go ahead and bomb Iran, what would be the ramifications for the United States? Could there be retaliatory strikes, which I'm sure there probably would have been. A lot of people very worried, even Iranians worried about all of this. So now that we've got that Truth Social post in hand, knowing that Pakistan was one of the biggest countries talking to us about trying to get this ceasefire deal in place, it's very interesting. The Pakistan's minister, his prime minister actually, had urged this 2-week ceasefire. For the longest time, a couple of hours had gone by, the president had not responded, but again, as of 6:32, he says that we are going to go ahead with that option, see what happens after 2 weeks, hopefully finalizing this deal. And then, as he says, consummating it and then moving forward. Now, I can tell you that a big thing with the Strait of Hormuz, that is where the world's oil, their fuel, their gas comes through. And so we've all been seeing these record high gas prices, even here in Philadelphia, and even the national gas price we've seen hit an all-time high of since at least like 2022, where gas on the national average was above $4. A lot of us feeling it at the tank. I was talking to one of my desk neighbors out here at Fox 29 Philadelphia, and he said that he filled up his car for almost $80 today. And I can't imagine. I stopped driving when I moved here to Philadelphia, but my car would fill up for at least $30, sometimes less than that. And I can't imagine what it would have been at had I brought it down here amid the conflict with Iran. So now we are seeing that that could potentially be all done, at least for the next 2 weeks. I'm curious to see what'll come of it. Of course, I'm looking forward to seeing those gas prices come down. But another big thing we've all been looking at, we've all been seeing a lot of people getting stuck at the airport, where those lines were really long. That also having to do with funding cuts and not coming to a general consensus of what to do with the funding bill. But that was also a big problem that we're all seeing. And last but not least, I know that there have been some Iranians who have been worried about what was going to happen. Actually, according to the Associated Press, they were fearing that they would have some power outages, or I mean, that would be like the best case scenario. Worst case scenario, that they or their loved ones could have been targeted, killed in any attacks that could have come to be. Again, that deadline was 8 p.m., but by 6:32, we have now found out that the president says that we have signed a cease deal, and we're hoping that that becomes permanent. Now, earlier today, the Pentagon was actually supposed to have a briefing. It was supposed to be General Dan Kane, Pete Hegseth they were supposed to lead this meeting. They have decided to push back those talks, and it was really interesting to me to see, what the U.S. was going to do ahead of time. And they were probably going to get a lot of questions from the media on, what this attack at 8 or afterward would look like, what was the timeline, and both Hegseth and Dan Kane have said multiple times that they don't want to give too much information to the enemy about what the potential moves are for the military. So maybe that's why they decided to hold off. Maybe they knew that they were going to come to a general consensus, be able to come up with this temporary ceasefire deal. I'm not quite sure why they made that decision, but that was something that happened a little earlier today. So while we have that, even though we have that new breaking news, I do want to let you listen into just yesterday what the president told us about this deadline, what he planned to do to Iran. Thankfully, we don't have to see that come into fruition, but let's take a listen together.
Last week you suggested that Europe should take the lead on reopening the Strait of Hormuz. Has circumstances changed now that you're issuing a direct 48-hour ultimatum? And secondly, would a new ceasefire include Israel, or would it just be between Iran and the US?
I can't talk about ceasefire, but I can tell you that we have an active, willing participant on the other side. They would like to be able to make a deal. I can't say any more than that.
Mr. President, you've listed the goals. Excuse me.
Please, go ahead.
You've listed the goals.
Who are you with? Who are you with?
My name is Diyar Kurd. I'm with the largest Kurdish media outlet, Ruda Media Network. It's based in Iran.
Go ahead.
Mr. President, you said before that you don't want the Kurdish forces to enter Iran and be harmed. Do you still want them to stay away, or what role do you expect them to play now?
I'd rather have them stay away.
And then,
I'd rather have them stay away because I think they bring with them some problems and some difficulties. And I don't think they bring death, to themselves. But I'd rather have them stay away. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President, for the question. Deliberate attacks on civilian infrastructure violate the Geneva Conventions and international law.
Who are you with?
I'm with the New York Times. Zolan from the New York Times. Are you
failing?
Are you concerned?
Circulation way down at the New York Times.
Are you concerned that your threat to bomb power plants and bridges amount to war crimes?
No, not at all. No, I'm not. I hope I don't have to do it. But again, I just said 47 years they've been negotiating with these people. They're great negotiators. And because they're not going to have a nuclear weapon. And if somebody that takes my place someday is weak and ineffective, which possibly that will happen because we had numerous presidents that were weak, ineffective, and afraid of Iran, we're never going to let Iran have a nuclear weapon. And if you think it's okay for people that are sick of mind, that are tough, smart, and sick, really sick, from a policy standpoint, from a standpoint, any which way you want to say, mentally, these are disturbed people. If you think I'm going to allow them, and powerful and rich, to have a nuclear weapon, you can tell your friends at the New York Times, not going to happen.
If it means violating international law.
Quiet. You no longer have credibility at the New York Times. Because the New York Times said, oh, Trump won't win the election, and I won in a landslide. I won every swing state. New York Times said, oh, Trump won't win the election. New York Times has no credibility. The credibility they have is it used to be all the news that's fit to print, a great The old gray lady, it was great, but they're running on past fumes, and you can't keep doing that. You have to be able to give the correct news. And people like you, who I know, are fake. You're fake. Go ahead, please.
Your messaging on the war has moved from the war is coming to an end to war going to be bombing Iran to the Stone Ages. Right. And we've heard a range of those kind of messages. So so which is it? Are you winding this down?
Can't tell you.
Or are you escalating
I can't tell you. I don't know. I can't tell you. Depends what they do. This is a critical period. They have a period of, well, till tomorrow at 8 o'clock. I gave them an extension. They asked for an extension of 7 days, right? I said, Steve, give them 10 days. 10 days is up actually today, so I gave them 11, I guess, indirectly. I thought it was inappropriate the day after Easter. I want to be a nice person. They have till tomorrow. Now, we'll see what happens. I can tell you they're negotiating, we think, in good faith. We're going to find out. We're getting the help of some incredible countries that want this to be ended because it affects them also. A lot of people are affected by this. But we're giving them till tomorrow, 8 o'clock Eastern time. And after that, they're going to have no bridges. They're going to have no power plants. Stone Ages, yeah. Stone Ages. CNN fake news.
Are you willing to make a deal that does not include reopening the Strait of Hormuz, or is that now a top priority?
I would say it's a very big priority because, see, that's one thing that's a little different than other things. We can bomb the hell out of them. We can knock them out for a loop. But to close the strait, all you need is one terrorist that somehow has a truck loaded with, because you can carry them in trucks, large trucks, a water mine, drop them in the water, and now you tell people that own ships that cost $1 billion to don't worry about the mine. You can do that even just by saying we put mines in the water. So it's not like the rest. We can knock out their military. We already have. We've knocked out their Navy. We've knocked out their Air Force completely. We've knocked out 158 ships in 3 days. We've knocked out even their mine droppers. They don't have any mine droppers anymore, but they put them on other boats, and they could drop them. I'm not even sure they have any mines there, by the way. I'm not sure. I'm personally, they say there might be 8. I don't know. I think there might be none because they're very good bullshit artists. That's why for 47 years they've been bullshitting other presidents, and they haven't done the job. And people are living in hell. You live in that country, they're living in hell. No, I think that 47 years of this stuff is long enough. They're at the weakest point they've ever been. They have no Navy, they have no Air Force, they have no anti-aircraft weaponry, they have no radar, they have no communication. In fact, the biggest problem we have in our negotiation is that they can't communicate. I said to Steve, what are they saying? Sir, they can't communicate. They have no method of communication. So we're communicating like they used to communicate 2,000 years ago with children, bringing a note back and forth. They have no communication. But all I want to see is I want to have a safe world, and you're not going to have a safe world. Israel will be gone. The Middle East will be gone. And then they're coming for Europe.
You guys, from that very bold threat from the president just issued yesterday to today, less than 45 minutes ago, we did hear that there is a ceasefire deal in place. For the next 2 weeks, we are supposed to have peace out there in Iran. We also know that they will be reopening the Strait of Hormuz. Again, this deal is just for 2 weeks, and so it's still, to be seen what comes after that. Now, I was paying attention to our live chat. We're on TikTok, we're on YouTube, we're on Facebook as well, and we're also on the Fox Local app. And a lot of you guys were asking, well, okay, the president says there's a ceasefire deal, and Pakistan is the one who asked for this. Does Iran know? Well, yes. Just in, Iran's Supreme National Security Council says that it has accepted that 2-week ceasefire in the war. So we do now have the confirmation from the Iranian side that, yes, they are also agreeing to this 2-week deal. Again, we'll wait to see what happens. Now, you know, the markets had already closed for the day. It's 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time every single day. But I'm interested in seeing where things kick off tomorrow morning and how the stocks go. I'm sure any of you guys who trade out there who have some money put away will be interested in seeing that too. Now, after the president announced that he had this 8 p.m. deadline, Democrats today issued their own responses. We'll be able to listen into a couple of them. I believe we'll hear from Representative Maxine Walters, and then we'll also hear from Senator Cory Booker. Let's see if we can pull that one up.
We're here today talking about the SAVE Act. This is very important. As most of you know and understand, voting rights put their lives on the line in order to ensure there were voting rights. As a matter of fact, one of the former members of Congress, John Lewis, was beaten within an inch of his life on the Edmund Pettus Bridge because of his advocacy for voting rights. Martin Luther King, Andy Young, all of these people who worked so hard for civil rights and for voting rights. And we thought that we had to keep an eye on voting rights, and we thought we had to have an amendment because of Section 2, Section 5, etc. We didn't know that this president was going to make voter suppression, federalizing the vote in some way that he's talking about would ever happen, would ever occur. But I want the president to get the message. Just as he was fought years ago, now we have a whole coalition together to fight for voting rights, to make sure that never again do we have a president of the United States or any of the MAGA types who will come together to try and take away all of our voting rights. We're not going to stand for it, and in the final analysis, people will hit the streets on this one, and people will prevail. We are going to fight, and we're going to win. Thank you.
We have time for one last question.
I have a question for, I think it's Mr. Kemp, who, I think it was your organization that is planning on sending election monitors.
Need matters worse for our nation. Not only spending tens of billions of our dollars in this war, but setting off cost shocks in our country that are not only causing the worst oil crisis, worse than the 1970s, but driving up the cost of goods and services for all Americans. We are footing the bill for Donald Trump's unconstitutional war. That should have been enough to have Congress never leave session at all and to actually do its job. We should have never let Congress out on recess. We should have been on the floor of the Senate holding open hearings about this disastrous war. We should have been in the Senate debating like the Constitution wants us to be, a check and balance, oversight, accountability. But the Congress has failed to do its job. And now this president, who is acting more like a mad king, is threatening societal elimination. This is a moral moment, and we must reject it, and Congress must do its job. I join with my colleagues here and other colleagues around this country with saying that the Senate and the House should be back in session, that we should stop an out-of-control president who is causing such harm to the American people and threatening to escalate a war that is already out of control. This is not justice. This is not who America is. There is no nobility in what our president is doing or saying. Congress must stand up now. Dear God, Congress should come back in session and do its job.
We'd be happy to take your questions. Please, go ahead.
What do you say that this is just another one of his rambling?
All right, so you guys, we just heard from Representative Maxine Waters and then, of course, Senator Cory Booker. Very, very passionate about their remarks there, suggesting that President Donald Trump needs to do more in this conflict with Iran. Of course, we have learned that since these comments were made, he has agreed to a 2-week ceasefire deal with Iran. This was a plan put forward by Pakistan. Now, I do also want to give you guys a couple of more updates before we go to break. So, Even though Iran said that it accepted that 2-week ceasefire deal, it says that this does not mean that this is the end of the war. So they put out a statement. This is Iran's Supreme National Security Council. All of this stuff is coming out like as we speak, you guys. So I'm trying to break the news as quickly as I can. So after saying that they did accept that deal, they also continued to say, it is emphasized that this does not signify the termination of the war. Our hands remain upon the trigger, and it should be the slightest error be committed by the enemy, it will be met with full force. This was given out today. So we're keeping our eyes on what this 10-point plan that the president says has been developed in terms of reopening the Strait of Hormuz. When I have some more information on that, I'll share it with you all. But of course, we also need to talk about Artemis II. Right now, they're making their way back to Earth. We're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, I want to let you guys in with Fox News reporter Sarah Allegre, bringing us the latest on what we know about this historic mission. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Philadelphia Live, you guys. I'm Judea Murray, and we are making history. You're taking a live look out at Orion. This is the Artemis II mission that had its eyes set on the moon, but yesterday we actually looped around, and now we are headed back to Earth. We'll be hearing from 4 astronauts who have gone further than any man. This is incredible. This is special, you guys. This is history in the making. I'm going to get on right out to Sarah Allegre from Fox News. She's live for us right now in Houston, Texas. Sarah, I hear that there are so many firsts that are happening. Another way they're making history, I hear, is by a ship-to-ship call. Can you tell me a little bit more about what this entails?
Hey there, Judea. Yeah, it happened a little bit earlier today with the International Space Station, and this is really special too, just to hear their enthusiasm about their 2 separate missions, but it also goes to show you this interconnection that we had between, yes, deep space and then low Earth orbit, but also showing that we are just really building a sustained presence outside of Earth too. As we kind of talked through these simultaneous missions going on, we also got to hear from the Artemis II crew a little bit after that when they talked to NASA officials and scientists rather here on the ground, detailing some of those observations during that lunar flyby. They talked about what they saw on the far side of the moon, talking about specific craters as well, some of the shadows that they saw, basins too, and then detailing what worked and what didn't work as well. So it was just really interesting to hear their enthusiasm in detailing the scientific aspect, the geological aspect as well, and what that tells us not only about the moon and its history, but also Earth as well and our history.
Able to see into the crater wall on the east side, and the shadowing there was actually neat, so I could see layers of shadow. Again, I was so far away, and my eyes were quite tired from adjusting. I was wearing glasses. That's the other thing about the eyes too. My eyes shifted on this. I'm about to turn 50, and that just was very different than 5 years ago.
Well, and you're staring out the window and at a lens for hours, too, as they made those observations with that crucial loop around the moon. And then we got those images. They're just so beautiful. We've been showing you guys them throughout the day. I love the one of the moon where it eclipsed the sun. That was super neat too, and just getting to see the crew's reaction too and how they were making those observations and what that work looks like inside the Orion spacecraft as well. There's also the photo that NASA called Earthset, a rare view of the far side showing as our planet kind of shifted below the lunar horizon. That was beautiful. And then zooming that in too on the moon's surface too, and getting that close-up look, you know, looking at the moon's surface, so craters, signs of shifting terrain, massive basins, that kind of thing. And then NASA just saying, you know, this is stuff that we're going to analyze, trying to better understand the moon, better understand Earth too. And then hearing from NASA's top officials a little bit earlier today, talking about the mission so far, but also the data that they've received and saying, you know, this is already helping us shape what comes next here.
Just watch you go to the back of the moon, and people haven't been there in a long time, we can say, but it's going to be more and more prevalent because we're going to be doing a lot of traveling, and then you're going to ultimately do the whole big trip to Mars.
And as you just heard, you know, the conversation with the president, too, after that record-breaking milestone yesterday, surpassing Apollo 13's record set back in the year 1970. I mean, this crew surpassed, when we're talking about maximum distance from Earth, 252,700 miles away. So truly phenomenal. But now that those milestones have been checked off the list, it's all about getting this crew back home safely for a successful splashdown off the San Diego coast. Judea?
Sarah, I've always wondered how they get some of those images back to us here on the grounds, and just to see that some of the astronauts actually have their own cameras where they're taking pictures out of the window. It feels like one of those things that even though they're doing something so high tech, so far beyond anything that I can imagine, there are still some things that, you know, I do, like taking pictures. So it was kind of cool to see, the same way I would be using my phone outside the car window. I mean, they're doing the same with their telegraphic lenses, I guess you could say. Now, a question I do have for you, they are on their way back to Earth. How long should it take them? When should we expect to see them making that splashdown?
Yeah, a couple of days from now we'll see it coming up this Friday. It's looking at around 8:07 Eastern time, so potentially around 5 p.m. Pacific time. So that's the window that we're looking at. Of course, you have to also look at weather, like how we do with the launch. We can't deal with any kind of serious thunderstorms. Right now, looking at the San Diego forecast, we know our crew at Fox Weather have been following this very closely. There was a chance of some rain, but right now it looks like we are on track for a successful splashdown. And again, it's just wrapping up. We're on day 7, I believe now, of this mission. So just a couple more days to go before that successful splashdown off the San Diego coast, because that is a very key part of this mission and will really allow this to come into fruition quite beautifully, getting our crew back home safely, and then hearing hopefully from them shortly after that journey. They're going to take that flight to the NASA Johnson Space Center just after that as they recover from this incredible and historic 10-day test flight.
You know, this is so cool, and I just have to say, I mean, how lucky are you that this is your assignment? I'm sure you are learning so much and taking away a lot of historic things. These are the kinds of things that you'll probably remember for the rest of your life, some of the things that you're seeing and hearing out there. So, Sarah, thank you so much for bringing us a little piece of it way back here in Philadelphia. All right, you guys, I want to bring you a live look a little closer to home. You may realize that this is Independence, hold on, I want to say it wrong. Independence Mall. Yes, I'm still getting to know all the areas around here as I've just moved here, but a beautiful skyline that we're looking at here. Also the colors that you see kind of looks like cotton candy in the background. And while we're talking about the skies, I want to get right on out to one of our meteorologists, Kathy. Kathy, it's a beautiful day. It's a little chilly, but what are we looking at ahead?
We're looking at dry conditions, Judea. I mean, a really nice stretch of weather that starts today and continues through next week. We do need the rain, but we are going to have a stretch of sunshine. And outside our weather window, the city in silhouette with a gorgeous sunset officially at 7:31 this evening, so 1 minute away. But then, of course, we're in that civil twilight for a while. So the city glowing with a temperature of 51 degrees and the winds that are really calming down around the region. 51 in the city, but 42 in Allentown and 31 in the Poconos. A couple of hours to the north. To the south in Cape May, 52 degrees. The big story, well, the cold throughout the whole part of the northern fringe of the country through the Central Plains. I mean, not quite warm. The only place you're seeing the 80s is South Florida, Vegas, Southern California, and also the Arizona desert. Overnight lows here, though, in the Delaware Valley, falling below freezing. Philadelphia 30, the suburbs in the 20s. The average low is 41. We will be 11 degrees below normal tonight. Overnight, a freeze, and that means any sensitive vegetation or plants that are typical for warmer weather will be in jeopardy overnight and through tomorrow morning. We rebound tomorrow afternoon, but at the bus stop or on your way out the door, grab the coat with the lining because you're going to need it in the morning. No wind, but just cold, and by the afternoon, temperatures jump some 20 degrees into the 50s. A car wash forecast looking good because it's going to be sunny and dry, and temperatures in the afternoon obviously well above freezing. Friday, Saturday, a warming trend will get underway. So as we look at that 7-day forecast, it gets warmer each day. 54 for your Wednesday, 60s for Thursday, and then by the weekend, we're talking 70s at least Friday and Saturday. Sunday for the Phils, we're talking about 66, and then the 80s are back for Monday and Tuesday near 90, even on this 10-day trend, staying in the 80s until Wednesday, and then a dramatic drop for Thursday and Friday. But notice that drop is in the upper 60s. We're not talking about 30s or 40s. Judea, it was a rough winter. It was brutally cold. So this is a huge improvement to what we've had. We've just been teased with 80s late March and early April. So it's kind of like this psych, and then we go back to cold.
Yeah, it's like a push and a pull, and
it's a
whatever,
push and
as long as we get it back.
As long as we get it back. And we will eventually. Those 80s are actually going to feel too hot around here for this time of year. I think so.
Oh,
it happened a couple weeks ago. Yeah, this time of year, because we're not acclimated yet, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
So we're going to go from winter coat tomorrow morning and possibly even Thursday morning for another freeze. And then you're talking about 80s by next Monday. It's crazy.
It sure is. I'm thinking, like, in the mornings, I try to at least go out for a little walk around the neighborhood, and yeah, that's going to be a shock to the system. So yeah. I don't know that I'm ready for it just yet. I might just get on the treadmill, call it a day.
Very good option for the next couple mornings.
Okay. All right, Kathy, we'll be checking in with you a little later on. If possible, you know, a lot of people do have plans. A lot of people like to get out there in the garden, but I understand that tomorrow may not be the best day to have your plants outside or your pets. So let's talk about that if we can when we check in with you a little later on in the stream.
Sure thing.
All right, cool. All right, you guys, there's so much more that we need to talk about. We're going to take a quick step back, but when we come back, we're going to be talking about some of the biggest headlines here in Philadelphia, how that may be affecting you, including some breaking news that I'm getting right now. We'll have more on that when we come back. Hey guys, welcome back to Philadelphia Live. I'm Judea Murray. I've got some breaking news for you within this hour, so bear with me as we get it all together. I'm seeing now that there may be a triple shooting that occurred near 60th and Market Streets. That's here in Philadelphia. We still here are trying to get more information on this. We may also be sending our helicopter out to bring you guys a live look. If that does happen, I'll go ahead and pop up that shot. But here's what we do have so far. 3 people shot near 60th and Market Streets tonight. 1 woman died, 2 others are in stable condition. This is all according to police officers who are giving us this information. Right now, no arrests have been made just yet. The investigation is ongoing, which lets me know that we don't have any idea who we're looking for just yet. But if you have any information on this, a possible motive in this case, who may have done this, and why, police are asking that you reach out to them as soon as possible. But their homicide unit is on scene. They are investigating, and hopefully some more details will be made available to us. So that's the latest that I have there on that. Also, there was an officer involved shooting. We also learned that this was a deadly situation just earlier. You're taking a look at some images that our chopper was able to give us as they flew over the scene. You see the crime tape, you see so many cars in the area, and soon you'll see a lot of law enforcement officials on the grounds as our chopper zooms in. So a man was killed after a shootout. He was exchanging gunfire with officers. This all taking place in a West Philadelphia neighborhood. And some of the neighbors there told us that they couldn't believe something like this happened so close to home for them. This all taking place at around 7 a.m. So now again, we know that a man has died. He was rushed to Penn Presbyterian Hospital, but he did not make it. They say that they had gotten a radio call for a person with a gun. Philadelphia police rushed out to the scene trying to gather all the information that they could. When they got there, they found a man on his porch, and so they approached him. And that's when the confrontation begins. Then a shot is fired and officers took cover. They returned fire. They hit the man once, but apparently that one bullet was enough. Again, he was rushed to Penn Presbyterian, but he died just after 7:30 a.m. That man has been identified as 75-year-old Anthony McKinley. And we also heard that there was a 26-year-old woman involved in this shooting. The officer is that 26-year-old woman. She was assigned to the 18th precinct. She's been placed on administrative duty while this investigation does go on. Now, we have an article all about this on our website. It talks a little bit more about how the community has responded to this. Remember, I told you that they were absolutely shocked that something happened so close to home for them. Quite a few of them actually interviewed with one of our reporters, Jill, letting her know just how, this really shook up their little community there. We're also, of course, keeping our eyes on Iran, where we have just found out that the president has issued a ceasefire deal. So for the next 2 weeks, we are expecting to see things die down, maybe even see some changes in gas prices, which would be great because they are supposed to be reopening the Strait of Hormuz. But as I keep you guys updated on some of the biggest things coming into each news organization, I'm seeing that there was a missile alert that sounded off in the UAE area. This is after Iran and the U.S. reached their 2-week ceasefire deal. So if we get some more information on that missile alert sound and, whether or not there was an actual airstrike or what, of course, I'll try to bring you that. But I can tell you another thing that we're looking into is whether or not Iran will actually, they say they agree to this deal, but they have also told us that this doesn't mean that war is over. And so then, begs the question of, well, how are they actually going to respect this 10-point plan that they have come together with the president on? We don't know what they mean when they reference the withdrawal of U.S. combat forces. When they say that they would be reopening the Strait of Hormuz, we don't necessarily know what that exactly looks like because according to them, their military will be manning that waterway. And of course, that is where most of the world's oil, their fuel goes through. So they say they'll be reopening it, but they also say they will be manning that area. So again, what this looks like in the days to come is, well, still to come. You and I will be unpacking it probably tomorrow night and probably the night after that as well. And so, of course, we're keeping our eyes on it. Now, here's another big White House headline that you all may have seen. The Trump administration is playing around with the idea of potentially cutting almost 10,000 TSA workers. They're also looking at cutting out $1.5 billion from their annual budget. The White House put together a budget document, and inside it has proposed cutting thousands of transportation security administration employees, and then of course again that over $1 billion from their budget. This is after the TSA has already endured worker shortages, extremely long wait times at airports across the country, including sometimes here at Philadelphia International. We've also seen some issues in Newark. We've seen some issues in Atlanta. And of course, we have seen some issues out at LAX and a couple of other airports, including Houston as well. That one is one that comes to mind. So now if they slash these workers, the question is who will take over for them? Well, remember they had ICE deployed to the airports and saw that they could very well do the job that TSA was doing as well. In some cases, they were just keeping lines down and keeping the peace in the airport. In some other cases, we could see them actually standing at the, I want to say it's like a kiosk, but you guys know what I'm talking about. When you're coming up and you're showing your ID, that little space. We've also seen some images of ICE agents working there and checking IDs before people go into the next part of security, where you have to, you know, pull out your what's it called? The carry-on bag. So, you know, this is all very interesting. Again, we'll see how this plays out, but I just wanted to make sure you guys were aware of this headline. And then, of course, the biggest thing that we are seeing happening right now is Artemis II. Orion is making its way through deep space. Just yesterday, it was a really big deal. They finally made their way around the moon. And for quite a bit of it, we were actually able to stream it right here on Philadelphia Live. So maybe you were joining me yesterday when we were talking a little bit about the eclipse that those 4 astronauts were going to see. When we got to see them put on their glasses, it was a really special occasion. And so now this mission is almost over. They will be making their way back towards the U.S., but not without NASA releasing their daily press conference. You guys, let's listen into it together.
Good afternoon and welcome to NASA's Johnson Space Center in Houston, Texas. I'm Bethany Stevens, and we are here today to provide a status update on the historic first crewed test flight of the Orion spacecraft post-lunar flyby. On our panel today, we have NASA Administrator Jared Isaacman, Dr. Lori Glaze, head of Artemis, Rick Hinfling, Artemis II Flight Director, Kelsey Young, Artemis II Lunar Science Lead. We'll start with opening remarks from each of the briefers before opening it for questions in the room and on the phone bridge. If you're on the phone, press *1 to submit your question. When called upon, please state your name, affiliation, and to whom you'd like to direct your question. With that, I will hand the floor to Administrator Isaacman for his remarks.
Thanks, Bethany. It's been an exciting Artemis II mission so far, and a very eventful 24 hours as the crew surpassed the Apollo 13 distance record, 252,756 miles from Earth. They relayed observations from the lunar surface. They've captured some incredible imagery. They performed a ship-to-ship call with their colleagues on the International Space Station. They performed additional manual piloting of the Orion spacecraft. They've been working at a reduced cabin pressure of 10.5 psi in support of future integrated lander operations, and they did take a call from the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump. We had millions of viewers on that that tuned in for that historic broadcast, and it concluded with the President promptly inviting the astronauts to visit the Oval Office. Now, Integrity left the lunar sphere of influence earlier this morning, so they're now approximately 229,000 miles from Earth, and they will splash down Friday evening at approximately 8:07 p.m. Eastern Time, and the recovery weather is so far looking favorable. Now, you can see some of the spectacular images the crew have captured here on our screens. There we go. Now, this is the first time humans have documented some parts of the far side of the moon. Now, these images will be publicly available on NASA's website, our digital platforms, and the White House actually released the now iconic EarthSat photo from earlier today. Now, these are the first of many incredible images of the moon, and we'll continue to release them as they become available. My understanding from just a few minutes ago is that they captured over 175 gigabytes of imagery from the lunar pass alone just yesterday, And the images that you are seeing right now have been transmitted back to Earth predominantly through optical communication, which is pretty cool stuff. Now, before I turn the call over to Dr. Lori Glaze, I wanted to share some of the other things that we are doing at NASA while the Artemis II crew are underway on this historic mission. So the crew on the International Space Station are hard at work. They're undertaking the science and tech demos, many of which have directly supported the Artemis program missions and will continue to do so. The Exploration Ground System personnel, if you want a quick Kennedy Space Center update here, have been out at the launch pad. The crawler, my understanding, is approaching the outer gate, and we expect ML1 to be back in the vehicle assembly building within approximately a week. Now, this would cut down on the turnaround time that we observed from Artemis I, measured in months right now, several months. On the science front, my understanding is the Blue Origin Mark I lunar lander is wrapping up here at the Johnson Space Center in Chamber A. Nancy Grace Roman Space Telescope testing is progressing, so much so that we feel reasonably confident we're going to announce a target launch date this year sometime in the next 2 weeks. In aeronautics, we've been flying the X-59 almost daily while the Artemis II mission has been underway. So we work to rebuild our X-plane portfolio. The first senior level Artemis III mission design discussion today. Teams are working with vendors on moon-based RFIs and RFPs, and we are advancing the Skyfall scientific payload for the first interplanetary nuclear-powered spacecraft, SR-1 Freedom. I think the most important point we're trying to make here is we can launch history-making missions like Artemis II, start making meaningful progress towards Artemis III, and do all the other important programs the world's been waiting for from NASA. And with that, I'll turn it over to Dr. Glaze.
Thank you, Jared. I just have to say, wow, when I look at all of those images that we're scrolling by. I hope all of you are as inspired as I am. I know as they continue to be downloaded, they're just absolutely stunning, and we really hope that they are inspiring truly everyone in the world. As the crew surpassed their record for the farthest distance, as Jared just mentioned, when they traveled on the far side of the moon, they offered some compelling words, and I love this. They said they challenged this generation and the next to make sure that this record is not long-lived, and I love that because we have big plans to go not just back to the moon on a regular basis, but beyond. And then, of course, while it's been really exciting here the last couple of days, as we've been watching all of the activity in Orion, we still have to ensure that Reed, Victor, Christina, and Jeremy return home safely on Friday evening. So we're pretty focused on that now, making sure that they get home safely. I will just say a couple of things about yesterday's operations. Really provided a great opportunity to test how our flight operations teams and our science teams are working together in real time with the crews at the moon. And in fact, from my perspective, one of my favorite things about watching all of the amazing data that was flowing down yesterday is thinking about how so much of NASA is working together in order to enable all of what you're seeing.
Stop exercise within 2 minutes. Okay, well, while they're giving them that quick warning, there's a lot that I want to bring out to you. So first and foremost, President Donald Trump has issued another Truth Social post, and in it he gives out the official statement of Iran. You guys, if you don't mind, let's read this together. This was literally a couple of minutes ago. So it says, on behalf of the Islamic Republic of Iran, I express the gratitude and appreciation for my dear brothers, Prime Minister of Pakistan Sharif, and Field Marshal Munir for their tireless efforts to end the war in the region. In response to the brotherly request of Sharif in his tweet, and considering the request by the U.S. for negotiations based on its 15-point proposal, as well as announcement by POTUS about acceptance of the general framework of Iran's 10-point proposal as the basis for negotiations, I hereby declare on behalf of Iran's Supreme National Security Council, if attacks against Iran are halted, our powerful armed forces will cease their defensive operations. For the period of 2 weeks, Safe passage through the Strait of Hormuz will be possible via coordination with Iran's armed forces and with due consideration of technical limitations. This was signed by the Minister of Foreign Affairs for the Islamic Republic of Iran. So again, that just coming in literally minutes ago. I wanted to make sure that we got it out to you all. And it answers a couple of my questions about how they plan to man the Strait of Hormuz. What does this mean for other countries who still have to bring their oil and their fuel through that area? Because they did say their military would be there. So they say that you will have safe passage as long as you coordinate with Iran's armed forces. And also they say they will be peaceful as long as attacks against Iran are halted. So again, we'll see what happens in the days to come. But I also want to bring you live right now to Fox 29 Philadelphia's chopper. Remember, I told you that we were keeping our eyes on a developing situation. This is breaking news, you guys. A deadly triple shooting that happened in West Philadelphia. It's under investigation right now. So, of course, you do see the police car. It looks like maybe this investigation involves the train tracks, as you see that officer who just left his vehicle making his way down there. So we'll get more information. I can tell you we have an article up on the Fox Local app as well as fox29.com if you want to know more. But again, we are looking into this shooting where we did hear that 3 adults shot near 60th and Market Streets at around 6:20 p.m. So not long ago at all. And then, of course, we did hear that one woman was pronounced dead at Penn Presbyterian Medical Center. A second woman and a man were also taken to Penn Presbyterian Medical Center, and they have been listed in stable condition. So that's the latest that we have there on that. As soon as I got some more for you guys, I'll try to bring it on out to you. But still ahead, I want to pose a question to you. So just in case this is the first time you are with us, this is an interactive live stream chat, okay? So if I have a question for you, I really expect you to answer in our comment section as well as on social media. But then you can also ask me questions. Maybe I'm talking to a reporter and you want to know a little bit more about their story. Ask it in the comment section. Or maybe I'm not touching base on a story that you want to hear a little bit more about. Tell me in the comment section. This is how we do things on Philadelphia Live. You guys, we'll be right back. Welcome back to Philadelphia Live. You guys are taking a live look at Love Park, and it is a gorgeous night out here in Philadelphia. You see all the lights, sparkling lights, even the first responder lights. I hope you guys are out there being safe. Let's bring things into the studio with Jake Leonard and I from our digital team. Welcome to the set.
Thank you.
All right, this is a segment that I like to call What You Think. I pose a question to you guys. I hope that you respond in our comment section, and we may read your comment live right here on this chat. So now, Jake, I was scrolling on Threads, as I always do. And this girl posted a letter that she wanted to give one of her coworkers.
Okay.
The big question was, you know, how do I tell my coworker that they smell?
Right, yeah.
And she wrote this anonymous letter because she thought that was going to be the best way. She didn't know this person super duper well, you know, on a personal level.
Right.
So she said, I'm going to write this letter. It's anonymous. And in it, she said, you know, you come in here sometimes and you smell a little off, and it's not like it's the end of the work day. You smell like that at the top of the work day, and people have been talking about you, and so I would want someone to tell me.
Right.
And then she posted it to Threads and said, what do you guys think? And they did not agree with her.
Really?
Ew.
Do you know if she dropped the letter off?
She says she didn't.
Okay.
I don't know if she actually did or did not, but that's what she said on Threads after everybody came in after her and was like, girl, no, what are you doing? This is an HR nightmare.
So she was going on Threads being like, this is a letter, should I do it?
Yes.
Like asking people's opinion. Okay.
Yep. And you know, it's not so anonymous once you take the picture and you post
No.
it.
Kind of defeats the whole purpose.
But this was the thought process there. Maybe it was just to get the people talking. I don't know. But I wanted to know what you guys think. And sure enough, they did respond.
Yeah, so we asked fox29.com/go vote under the Fox Local tab. Simply, would you tell a coworker they smell? And so, contrary to the people responding to that, 72% of the people say yes, they need to know. And 28% say no, that's rude. Which I am kind of no. I guess it depends on the situation, but we have a lot of good comments. Let me read some of them for you. So this person, I feel like this is a completely different scenario. He said, I work in a warehouse. We have a meeting every spring that reminds everyone of the heat and hygiene. If you neglect it, after that, you're fair game. So I feel like that's a totally different, scenario than the office.
Tell y'all to put some deodorant on. That's crazy.
Someone said not directly, but there would be hints.
Okay, how would you hint?
Someone said, yup, pull them aside and make them aware. I'll even offer my spray, deodorant, and body spray I keep in my desk too.
Okay, that's kind of nice. I guess if someone had to tell me some hard news like that, I would hope they also offered a solution.
Yes.
That would make me feel a little better.
I mean, I feel like this is the type of thing where it would be embarrassing and it would be really hard to hear, but I mean, I guess I would appreciate if someone was coming to me and I felt like they genuinely were trying to help and they were like, look, I just want you to know, I'm coming to you as a friend. I think I would appreciate it. Obviously, I would be embarrassed. I would be so embarrassed, but if it's someone who I could tell they're coming from a good place, I feel like it wouldn't be the worst thing. I do feel like the letter might be a little bit too harsh.
That anonymous letter would make me think that y'all hate me in this office. Secretly, y'all have it out for me.
Because I feel like when you do something like that, it's kind of like, oh, everyone's talking about me. Everyone's whispering, and it would make me feel more uncomfortable,
Yeah, I agree with that. I definitely agree with that. And I think about it, too, the same way that it is definitely okay if, you were to tell a coworker, a hair is out of place, or, you have lipstick on your teeth. For me, I would definitely appreciate stuff like that.
Oh, my gosh, 100%.
So I guess maybe it's the same kind of thing, but I don't know.
Yeah.
What you guys think?
Yeah, write in. Again, you can vote fox29.com/go vote. It's under the Fox Local tab. You can also see it on Facebook or Instagram, Fox29 Phillies. I have it posted on our stories. If you want to hear Judea tell the full story, you can watch that, and you can also put your vote in.
Yeah, I am Judea Murray on all platforms, so make sure you head on over to my Instagram page. That's actually where I posted this. Jake, thank you for weighing in with me.
Thank you very much.
A little later on, we'll also be talking about some of the top stories around town and what's happening around the United States. But of course, you guys, we do want to get back into this ongoing issue with Iran. I actually see some of you guys in our comment section, never stopped talking about that. And so definitely want to get you guys the latest just in case you didn't see. Not too long ago, we got information from the president that a ceasefire deal has been reached, at least for the next 2 weeks. So what he's saying here is that there has been a proposal from Pakistan Iran looked at it, they had their say. The U.S. looked at it, they had their say, and they were able to come to a common ground. So for the next 2 weeks, we are expecting to see some better options here in the United States. So I guess what that means is the Strait of Hormuz. That's set to reopen. That's a really big deal. You guys have been seeing really high gas prices, especially if you've got a business and you've been using diesel fuel. I talked to a trucker not too long ago who said in the first couple of weeks of this conflict with Iran, he was paying hundreds of dollars extra for gas just to make sure that his big rig could get back and forth to the different destinations that he had planned in order to continue making money for his family. And then, of course, we know delivery workers like Uber drivers, Uber Eats, DoorDash, they have also been feeling the pain too every time they try to fill up their tank. So that's a really big deal that I know a lot of people are going to be looking at. And then, of course, our stocks from time to time have been struggling. And so I'm curious to see where the markets will open tomorrow morning with this new information that we have gotten. Also, the president released the official statement from Iran, and in it, although he said that there was a 10-point plan, we know Iran says that they have had some negotiations based on a 15-point proposal. And they have accepted it. According to Iran's Supreme National Security Council, you're taking a look at that statement right there. They say if attacks against Iran are halted, our powerful armed forces will cease their defensive operations. So again, for the next 2 weeks, we're looking at them having safe passage through the Strait of Hormuz. All you have to do, if you're a country listening into this or a country that wants to use it to get their country's oil or fuel through, they would have to coordinate with Iran's armed forces. So it'll be very interesting on seeing how this all plays out. As we all know, the president had very big plans to make sure that if that ceasefire deal had not been reached by 8 p.m., remember that was the cutoff deadline, he said blood was going to be shed. Now, clearly, we have come to a general consensus that maybe that wasn't the best interest for everybody involved. And a lot of people are also worried about whether or not this would be considered a war crime if the president were to unleash fury on Iran and then innocent people, bystanders, if they were hit, what would that mean? We also know the president has talked time and time again about how he would like to be a Nobel Peace Prize winner. And so again, there were a lot of eyes on seeing how he was going to handle this. It is good to hear that we have that ceasefire deal in place, but again, we're going to keep our eyes on it for you guys. So that's the latest that we have there on that. Pretty soon we'll be talking to one of our reporters, Jen Lee. She's been out talking to different leaders, getting some reactions from closer to home on how our lawmakers, officials, how all of them are feeling about what's happening here. So we'll touch base with her when we come back. Hey, you guys, welcome back to Philadelphia Live. A very sensitive situation underway. We know that President Donald Trump has announced that a ceasefire deal has been reached between the U.S. and Iran, which is great news for anyone who was worried about whether or not innocent people would lose their lives if by 8 p.m. that deadline had not been reached. According to the president, there was a 10-point plan. According to Iran, there was a 15-point plan that was also proposed. And between the two, they were able to come up with this 2 weeks worth of, for lack of better words, we'll say peace. But just so you know, there will be no attacks. There's supposed to be no attacks. And as long as that happens, Iran says that they will make sure that there is a safe passageway through the Strait of Hormuz, which again, great news, not just for people who are worried about the humanity of other people, but also people who are worried about our world getting its oil. As you know, gas prices here have been astronomical. We have also seen the highest prices since 2022 on a national average. So very big deal. We'll wait to see what the prices look for regular gas and diesel fuel in the future. But I want to get out to Jennifer Lee. She's here in studio. Jen, you have been collecting interviews from leaders, from people around the community who are talking a little bit more about how they feel about the deadline and the ceasefire. What have you been hearing out on the streets?
So I specifically had a chance to sit down and interview Mariam Vafa, and she is a board member of the organization Philly Iranians, and she is someone that we have spoken to since this conflict started with Iran. And I just want to get into her background to explain why she is someone who is so passionate about this subject. First, Philly Iranians, it's a local nonprofit, and they're a big supporter of women's rights as well as freedom for Iranians. Mariam herself, she grew up in Iran as a child, so obviously she has childhood memories. Her father was Iranian, and her mother obviously lived in Iran too when she was a child, and she still has a lot of family and friends who are still in Iran. She said for the most part, communication has been cut because there is no internet, there is no way of communicating with her family members in Iran at this time. But she did say that she had a conversation with a cousin who was able to leave Iran, started that journey last week, and she said she actually touched base with that cousin today. So obviously she just wants to know that her loved ones are okay, and seeing this conflict play out, you know, those words, threatening words that President Trump had posted on social media. She said it was devastating to see, and it was also very scary. And just to get into what her point of view was, she said the Iranian people have for decades been oppressed by this current regime. And she said by President Trump writing on social media the threats that he did about taking out, quote, a civilization, she feels like the Iranian people were basically, you know, just treated horribly, not once, but twice, first by the Iranian regime, now by, you know, President Trump and the post that he made on social media. So obviously she is heartbroken by that. And I just want you guys to listen for yourselves what she had to say about a ceasefire deal for the next 2 weeks with Iran.
I don't think it will make a difference. I don't think the regime is going to change its stance. They're 2 weeks, 3 weeks. They actually want this to happen. For the regime to stay on would be the worst thing, because now they can show the world, hey, look at us. We stood against the US and Israel. We can do it all. My hope is for one day, I don't want to cry, for the Iranian people just to be free, to have the freedom that me and you have every day.
And the exact quote that Mariam used was, "I feel the Iranian people are being violated twice now." And she said once by the regime for 47 years being taken hostage. And obviously there have been reports from, you know, health agencies and other local authorities that were in Iran, even that time in January when it was reportedly thousands of people who were killed. So she was saying by the regime once, and now secondly by President Trump. But what happens in these next 2 weeks, I guess we have to wait and see how all of this plays out. But it seems like for Mariam herself, she, as you heard, doesn't think it's really going to make a difference, at least with this current regime that has been so oppressive from her point of view these last nearly 5 decades.
Jen, this was a really important perspective to get. So first and foremost, I'm glad that you were able to get that interview. But for us sitting at home, listening into these headlines, it's often easy to forget the humanity that's out there. So yes, we have an issue with Iran that the U.S. is trying to figure its way through, right? But then we also have to remember, but these are real people and the impact that it's going to have on these real people's lives. So with this woman that you were talking to, not knowing whether or not her family members are okay, for periods of time she wasn't able to talk to them, and also getting to hear that some of these people are not happy themselves with their own regime, but at the same time would be scared to hear a notice like, hey, we would be bombing and, you know, bombing everyone. And that could potentially mean you too, even if you don't agree with what's going on with your own government. So again, it's interesting to hear sometimes things that we don't think about. I think when we're just hearing the headline and hearing the news that's coming out that way, or seeing a tweet or seeing an Instagram post, but you put a face to this is what I'm trying to get at here.
Yeah, and I think Maria Vafa herself, you know, she's part of this nonprofit, Philly Iranians, and she certainly does have a really big humanitarian heart, especially, you know, for people who are back in the country that she grew up in as a child, like I said. And I think that's why she got so emotional, because she also told us that she cannot give up hope. When I asked her, you know, with this conflict that has been evolving and ongoing, like, how do you maintain that hope? And she said that she just won't give up because she cannot. You know, this is a country she loves. She loves the people of Iran, and she wishes for nothing more than for them to experience the freedoms that we experience here in the U.S. And that's really what she has conveyed since the first time we sat down with her for an interview. But certainly she is very, very upset. She is on a daily basis, multiple times a day, keeping track of news coming out of Iran. And I know that she is someone who's closely following different channels online, as well as, you know, some of the news outlets here in the U.S. But I think from the humanitarian point of view, like you mentioned, Judea, that's really where all of her emotions, her passion stem from when it comes to Iran and the ongoing conflict.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that interview to us, Jen. I know you've got some news gathering that you still have to do before the 10 o'clock show. I'm sure this is going to be a great piece that you put together. You guys will be able to watch it on Fox 29 a little later on. There'll also be an article up available on our website at fox29.com and the Fox Local app. So, Jen, I'll let you get to it. But you guys are probably looking at your clock right now. It is 8:13 p.m. You knew that there was a deadline for Iran at 8 p.m. and yet you're seeing nothing has happened. Well, if you were just now joining this live stream chat, here's what took place. At around 6:30, President Donald Trump put out a post on Truth Social announcing a ceasefire deal. He said that we had reached a deal with Iran, that for the next 2 weeks we would be experiencing peace, for lack of better words, so that there would be no attacks going on during this time. Also, the Strait of Hormuz would be reopened, which is a very big deal for anybody who's been looking at the gas prices and just wondering what day is going to come where that price comes down. So again, we're keeping our eyes on that. Our Jennifer Lee was able to give us a little local reaction here from a woman who has family out in Iran, who loves Iran, but also sees some issues there. So we'll be touching base on what's happening, especially as these new updates keep coming in. I'll try to keep you guys as up to date as possible. But big question for you, who remembers the Gilgo Beach serial killer, at least the accusations, and the man who was put behind bars for it, who's still going to have to seek his day in court one day? Well, earlier today, we learned that there was a new lawsuit out against him and his family. We'll be touch base on what exactly took place there when we come back. Welcome back to Philadelphia Live, you guys. My name is Judea Murray, and there's a lot to talk about. I want to bring you live out in New York City, the streets of New York City right now, where we heard that there is a Stop the U.S. War on Iran protest happening in Union Square. This is in Manhattan. Very big deal. This protest is being held and sponsored by Refuse Fascism. So they have been out there starting at 8 o'clock, so not too long just yet. Almost 20 minutes out there chanting to the public about their disdain with the Iran war that the U.S. and Israel are a part of. But of course, we also heard tonight that the president has issued that ceasefire. And so even though this is only going on for 2 weeks, we are hoping that that means the end of the war is close by. So with that live shot in New York, that brings us a little close to Long Island, where maybe you heard, but the Gilgo Beach serial killer. It was a huge headline a while ago. Well, it's being brought back up into the news today because a victim's son has claimed that that suspected serial killer's family turned their own horror, his family's horror, into profits. And this is while he is set to make a plea pretty soon. So this is a major legal development that we're taking a look at here. The Gilgo Beach serial killer case is back in our forefront. This is days before a massive expected breakthrough in court. So the son of Valerie Mack, who by the way is from Philadelphia, has fired a wrongful death lawsuit against the accused killer Rex Heuermann and his family. Now, in this lawsuit from the son, it was filed by attorney John Ray on behalf of Benjamin Torres, that's the son's name. It claims that Mack was ferociously tortured and dismembered. She was just 24 years old when she vanished from Philadelphia in 2000, and she left behind this son who was at that time 6 years old. Her remains were discovered later that year in Manorville, New York. This all taking place in the year 2000. Well, we also learned that the lawsuit goes well beyond Heuermann. So he's the suspect in this case, but it also targets his ex-wife and his daughter. The suit alleges that that family deliberately ignored or even concealed facts about the crimes, all while reportedly earning over $1 million from a documentary deal. So that son is seeking unspecified damages. He's arguing that the family should not be allowed to profit from the horror inflicted on his mother any longer. And this civil filing comes at a pretty critical moment because, again, we know that Rex Heuermann is supposed to enter a plea pretty soon, actually happening tomorrow for 7 counts of murder. Now, if that plea deal goes through, it would cover the deaths of Valerie Mack, this kid's mother, Megan Waterman, Melissa Barthélemy, Maureen Brainerd Barnes, Jessica Taylor, Sandra Costilla, and Amber Lynn Costello. Now, the attorney for Heuermann's ex-wife weighed in on that lawsuit. Let's take a listen.
Thank you, everybody, for coming. On behalf of Asa and Victoria, I'd like to read a statement in regards to the lawsuit filed by Johnny Ray. Today is an extraordinary and difficult day for everyone impacted by these horrific crimes, and it's only made worse by the reckless actions of John Ray. Mr. Ray has spent the better part of a decade trying to remain relevant in this case and has consistently attacked my clients with vicious, unfounded, unsupported rumors and allegations. First and foremost, our hearts are with the victims and their families. They have endured unimaginable loss, and nothing said here today can ease that pain. But let me be absolutely clear, and I want to say this without ambiguity. Mrs. Ellerup and Victoria Heuermann had no knowledge, no involvement in, no connection whatsoever to these horrific crimes. None. I would like to add, Victoria Heuermann was 3 years old. She was 3 years old at the time of the homicide of Valerie Mack. Mr. Ray accuses her of active participation in a homicide where she was 3 years old. Just take that into consideration on the reckless acts that were brought by this. The individual responsible acted alone. Rex Heuermann has been indicted and charged with these series of homicides, and he will have his day in court to answer for those charges, which we all know will be tomorrow morning. My clients have fully cooperated with law enforcement from the very beginning. There is no evidence that implicates them in any way. None. Unfortunately, there has now been a civil lawsuit filed that attempts to suggest otherwise. The lawsuit is reckless, irresponsible, and completely completely unsupported by the facts in this case. This case has been thoroughly investigated by the Gilgo Beach Task Force. My clients have cooperated during that investigation from minute one, right in front of this house in the command center post that was put out here the minute Rex Human was arrested. It is deeply troubling in the wake of such tragedy that anyone would choose to advance claims that have no factual basis only to serve to further harm individuals who themselves are dealing with profound personal human trauma. My clients are trying to process the reality that someone they trusted, a husband, a father, is accused of committing unthinkable acts. They are victims in this situation as well, not perpetrators. We ask for restraint, fairness, and for the media and the public to focus on the pursuit of justice for the victims rather than amplifying unfounded, reckless allegations. There will be a time and a place to address the claims through the legal system in that process, and we plan on doing that. But today, let me be absolutely clear. They have absolutely no involvement in the actions of Rex Human, and we look to be fully exonerated in this reckless lawsuit brought by John Ray. If anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to respond.
Sources are telling us that Rex is going to plead guilty to murdering 8 people tomorrow. Your client's reaction to knowing that he's going to be admitting to these murders?
Until tomorrow morning, we don't know what's going to happen in the courtroom. That's between, Rex Human, his attorneys, and the district attorney's office. I'm not going to comment on any of that, any speculation on what's going to happen tomorrow.
Has Rex had any conversations with Asa ahead of tomorrow's possible plea?
He has, but again, I'm not going to discuss those conversations. So the family is prepared for whatever's going to happen tomorrow in court. They have, had conversations, with Rex over the past, several months. So they are prepared for whatever outcome is going to happen in court tomorrow.
Have they allowed him to plead guilty?
They have not been involved in the decision-making of Rex, one way or another.
But there's been a lot of news about them making money off of this documentary. Peacock is here. What do you say to that?
I say this is America. People are entitled to, whatever they are entitled to do. This is nothing about Rex Human. This is about Asa's life and her process through this, Victoria's life and her process through this whole thing. There's no comment other than that.
Would Asa like to comment at all directly about
No, she will not.
And is there can you go over any insight into why Rex may have changed his decision about a guilty plea? Has that been shared with the family about the reason?
That's between Rex and his legal team. We are not part of any decision-making process that took place on why or if he's going to change his plea.
How have you prepared? Is this a relief? Is this a relief to your clients?
Well, my clients have been living a nightmare for the past 3 years. July 13th, 2023, their home was turned upside down. They were removed from it for 13 days. Every one of their personal items was removed, many of which we don't have back yet, wallets, passports. And then again, about a year later, they were removed for 5 more days. And again, everything searched, personal property, all their clothes, all their bedding, everything was taken. So they're looking to move on, whatever that's going to be, and put some closure to this. But again, the focus is on the victims and their families. They have been victimized. Ultimately, they will be okay. But we want to remain the focus where it is on the victims and their families.
Family planning to stay in the home and planning to stay on the home?
We're in a problem. We're going to make that decision once the conclusion of the case comes.
Bob, how have you prepared your client to sit in court and hear those words that we've been told is going to happen? This is a dramatic change from the not guilty insistence for all this time that he does in fact plead guilty to these crimes. How do you prepare your client to hear those words publicly?
Well, she's prepared to hear whatever's going to come out in the courtroom tomorrow. And we've been consistent. She has never said that Rex Human is not guilty. She's been consistent saying the man that she was married to, the Rex Human she knows, she did not believe was capable of these crimes. Just like the next door neighbor, you wouldn't want to believe the neighbor is capable of these crimes. They're horrific allegations. Nobody would want to believe it. She's now had almost 3 years to process that, and she is prepared for whatever outcome is going to happen in court tomorrow, and she will deal with it.
But it's 3 decades in a very small living space. Were there any signs?
Ma'am, I have the full trust and faith in the Gilgo Beach Task Force, who has thoroughly investigated this case. My clients have cooperated from minute one. They have no involvement whatsoever. They have been clear in all the court filings. Asa, Victoria were not in the jurisdiction when these homicides took place, whether they were in Iceland, whether they were in New Jersey, whether they were in Vermont. They were not here. And if you look at the prosecution's case, Rex Human was particular in the homicides were performed or committed when they were out of the jurisdiction. No involvement whatsoever. I have no doubt in that. Yes, Jimmy.
So
We understand Peacock's here and doing interviews. I mean, is there any way Ace will give us one statement despite these interviews through Peacock? We would like to hear, the public media would like to hear a statement from Ace.
There'll be an appropriate time. There still has a prosecution of a criminal case pending. There's still, until the criminal case is closed, they are not going to comment on this investigation at all.
Is the family anticipating additional civil, obviously additional victims? Do you expect additional civil litigation to come?
I don't anticipate, but I am confident they have no involvement whatsoever, and any civil case that's brought is going to be reckless and will be dismissed. Anybody else?
Have you had any direct contact with John Ray since that was filed? Have you had a response to him, or you just wait?
No, I'm just going to wait. I mean, honestly, Johnny has spent, like I said, the better part of a decade trying to remain relevant in this case. He has one client that he's had, Shannon Gilbert, who, fortunately or unfortunately for Miss Gilbert's passing, the other victims may have never been discovered. And he has tried to latch onto this case. He has spent tens of thousands of dollars of his own money investigating and trying to pursue some type of civil remedy against anybody that could recoup his own costs. So I have not had a conversation with John Ray. We'll address John Ray in court where it's appropriate. And frankly, we're looking into the possibility of even bringing John Ray as a defendant because of his reckless, vicious attacks on my clients through his numerous press conferences and allegations that he's made against them. So John Ray may find himself as a civil defendant one day in this whole action.
All right, plans after tomorrow's court proceeding? So is she going to go?
We'll have an additional statement to make tomorrow after the court proceeding, which will address whatever's going to go on tomorrow morning in court.
And does she have plans to go and visit Rex in jail?
We're not going to discuss that now. Yeah, it's not going to discuss any of that right now.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Appreciate you coming. We'll see you tomorrow morning.
All right, our eyes will be on that household and the courthouse in New York tomorrow morning. Now, I did see that a couple of you guys just got into the chat, and I promised one of you I'd get you caught up on what exactly you missed, just in case you are completely unaware. If you have not heard of it yet, I highly suggest you look into the Gilgo Beach murders. So the suspected serial killer, Rex Heuermann, who right now is on his way, tomorrow he's supposed to enter a plea. He is the suspect in this case. They say that he murdered multiple young women, dismembered their bodies, and then they also say that some of them, their bodies still have not been found to this day. So one of those victims, their son, has reached out. He has issued a lawsuit, and that is what they're talking about in that press conference that you were just looking at there. Not only is the son suing Rex, but he's also suing Rex's ex-wife and his daughter, stating that they also had something to do with the death of his mother. Not necessarily taking part in the actual death itself, but he's saying that they profited from it. So again, in case this is new to you, or you're not from New York, you're not from this region, you don't know, there have been multiple documentaries made about Rex Heuermann since this case was brought to light. And he says that they have gained over $1 million worth of revenue, worth of profits from this story. And he's suggesting that they need to be held accountable for that. So again, his mother's name is Valerie Mack, who, by the way, was in Philadelphia when they say that she was taken by Rex and then brutally murdered. So that's the connection that they have here, and that's why we were just playing it. So I just wanted to make sure that we were all up to date. Oh, Nady Cakes 123, you are back. Hey, welcome to back to Philadelphia Live. I'm glad to have you with us. All right, you guys, there's still a lot of news ahead. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Philadelphia Live. This is an interactive news conversation. So if you have a question, you are able to ask us right here in our live chat. Mario Palumbo 7 said, what is happening now in Iran? Well, we are keeping our eyes on that, but I can tell you what's happening with the latest in this ceasefire deal that the U.S. has reached. So right now, we're taking live looks at the very top of your screen, excuse me, on this side. You're taking a look at the streets of Philadelphia, where a large group of people are marching on through. This is an anti-Iranian war protest that we're looking at here. And then we also have, as our chopper flies over it, they're zooming into it so you can see this large group as well. Again, this is happening in Philadelphia as we speak. Now, I wasn't able to talk to our chopper before they got out there, so I'm not exactly sure which street we're looking at. But you know what? We can try and see as they're zooming in if it's possible to see the street names. It's a little difficult for me. My eyesight isn't great, you guys, but I'm trying my best for you. If I figure it out, I'll let you know. It sounded like 17th Street. Okay. So we're keeping our eyes on this area, but they're making their way on through. You're seeing a lot of people on their feet voicing their concerns. Of course, this is our chopper, so we don't have sound for you all. But a lot of people who, even though we've gotten this ceasefire deal, they say they want this war to end right now. A lot of people are suggesting that a lot of innocent lives are being lost in all of this. As you know, a little while ago over this weekend, as the chopper continues making its way through, I also want to bring you to New York, where there's another protest happening. This is Union Square, I believe, which is Manhattan. There are people out there with bullhorns, as you can see, a lot of different signs. I'm hesitant to bring up the sound only because I'm not sure if you'll hear any sensitive language, but we can try it for you guys. It sounds like or it looks like a heated conversation between protesters there. But if it's, let's see if we can listen.
We should be doing diets all over.
As opposed to making it up, we're going to save Iran. That's not realistic.
I don't want my tax dollars killing 92 million people. How's that? Is that simple enough for you?
I get that, but
okay. So we got to start there. How about we start there?
This is what I'm trying to tell you. Instead of making it that or this.
So now we look at the President Trump issue ceasefire.
We were about to these guys right here with the camera. No, we're not. Fuck Trump. Fuck Trump. Fuck this fucking war. I'm a communist. Fuck capitalism.
So as I mentioned there, we're probably going to hear some sensitive language at these protests. There are a lot of high emotions where a lot of people are expressing themselves and believe they're expressing themselves freely. Unfortunately, that does mean from time to time we will hear curse words. We may also hear some derogatory terms being used. So I do apologize for that gentleman's words, but he is exercising his freedom of speech. So, you know, that is a good thing there. All right, so this is what we're seeing happening right now in New York City. You see they've got a drummer boy out there, a lot of different signs. This is an anti-Iranian war protest that we're seeing, and there are plenty of them around the United States. Our chopper was just flying over one in Philadelphia. And as we keep our eyes out, if there are any other cities that pop up tonight, don't worry, I will show you. We are live right now from 7 until 10 p.m., so we have plenty of time to get you out to some more. Let's talk to you about some of our top stories around this region, just in case you are in the Philadelphia area, New Jersey, Delaware, and you want to know what's happening near you. So earlier today, there was a crash on Route 1. That is a highway. We learned that a man was killed. This was a 3-vehicle crash out in Bensalem. So according to police, he had gotten out of his car that had stalled on the highway. This was a disabled vehicle, maybe trying to get help, maybe work on his car. But when he stepped outside of it, unfortunately, they say that someone ended up hitting the car, and there was another car involved as well. So in total, all happening really early this morning, there was a 2007 Honda Fit. There was a 2022 Kia Seltos involved and a 2017 Jeep Cherokee. And the driver, identified as Julio Ricardo Munoz, 45 years old, of Philadelphia, is the person who was hit and killed. Unfortunately, he did not make it, as I mentioned. Now, there was also a front seat passenger in the Honda that was taken to a Jefferson Torresdale Hospital Thankfully, they have non-life-threatening injuries, but we don't have any more information about their identity or anything else there. Now, one thing that people are looking into, at least the police, they're looking into whether drugs or alcohol were factors. Right now, they say that they don't believe that to be the case, but this investigation is ongoing. Again, we know that that car was stalled. The driver had gotten out, and then his car was hit. Unfortunately, he did not make it. Another big thing, we are taking a look at ICE. Remember, they were at the airports. For some airports, they may even still be out there. But we've gotten reports that they arrested over 800 people after getting tips from the TSA. This is according to some new data that we're getting in. Immigration and Customs Enforcement officers have arrested hundreds of people after the Transportation Security Administration shared some of their intelligence with the agency. This is according to a Reuters investigation and report there. The TSA, they say they've got some travel records that allow them to assess passenger information for people who are on the government's watch list. Meanwhile, President Donald Trump out in March announced that ICE officers would be deployed to U.S. airports to assist in managing long security lines at airports. But we have also heard that more than 800 people were arrested by ICE based on leads that they had gotten while working with the Transportation Security Administration. So a very peculiar, curious case here, but we'll keep looking into it for you all. But that was a big headline that I figured you guys would be interested in knowing more about. We also have some more information on our website if you would like to read into it. And then last night, maybe you were streaming with us and you saw that big news right at the end of the night that Atlanta-based rapper Offset had been shot while he was out at a casino in Florida. This was a popular casino as well. Well, police have now arrested another person in conjunction with this shooting. So they arrested rapper Lil TJ. I didn't know too much about him before this shooting, but his face is almost everywhere on the internet right now and on social media. So it's if you hadn't heard of him either, by this point you definitely have. They arrested him following a fight. They said that there was a shooting outside the Seminole Hard Rock Hollywood casino last night. And then, of course, former Migos rapper Offset was hospitalized, but fortunately they say he suffered some non-life-threatening injuries after that incident. Meanwhile, Lil TJ faces a misdemeanor charge of disorderly conduct while Offset remains under observation at a local hospital. Now, I checked out Quavo's Instagram page. He is another member of Migos. Now, I do believe at this point in time they still aren't speaking to each other. They had an issue a little while ago after the third member, Takeoff, was killed not too long ago, a couple of years back actually, in a similar shooting while out in public. And after that, they seem to have had a falling out. They weren't talking anymore. But Quavo did post on his Instagram story shortly after the news broke of Offset's shooting. It was just the prayer hands emoji. So clearly he was thinking about his once band member. So there's the latest there on that. Thankfully, again, he seems to be making a speedy recovery. So we'll keep our eyes on that situation as well. And while we're talking about the entertainment field, maybe you heard the UK has decided to ban Kanye West from traveling there. And because of this new ban, Wireless Festival, where he was supposed to perform, has also been canceled. This is all over some anti-Semitic remarks that Kanye West, you may know him better as, has made throughout his time as an entertainer. So again, he was barred from entering the UK. He was scheduled to headline the Wireless Festival in July. They say this is all over those anti-Semitic remarks that he has made. So they canceled the 3-day outdoor event. They said that anyone who bought tickets would get refunds. So in case you are one of those ticket holders, you should be expecting your money sometime soon. Meanwhile, Ye had applied for an electronic travel authorization in order to visit the UK, but found out that he was going to be blocked by the government on grounds that his presence in the country would not be, and I quote, conducive to the public good. Another person, Prime Minister Keir Starmer, said Kanye West should have never been invited to headline Wireless. He put that statement out on social media. And he went on to say, this government stands firmly with the Jewish community, and we will not stop in our fight to confront and defeat the poison of anti-Semitism. We will always take the action necessary to protect the public and uphold our values. So that's the latest there on that. I'll keep you up to date from time to time on some of the top news around town, especially when it's trending, especially when you guys are talking about it on social media. But remember that this is an interactive news conversation. Speaking of which, Sasha on TikTok just said, I didn't even know Fox had live news on TikTok. So welcome to Philadelphia Live. Yes, Fox 29 Philadelphia does have live news available for you. And it's in this kind of comfortable format where we're able to break down topics. We can take our time with them. Sometimes we'll go out to reporters who are out in the field and just figure out what the latest is that they've gotten on their story. It's a really cool thing that we're able to do here. And speaking of which, one of the big things that we're talking about is sports. I want to get right on out to our sports team. I see we've got Scott on deck. Scott, what's happening in the world of sports as it pertains to Philadelphia?
Well, all eyes are on the Flyers right now. They're playing, and they're playing well against the New Jersey Devils up in North Jersey. And the Flyers have a 4-1 lead as they're in the second intermission right now. So one more period to play tonight. And right now they're continuing their playoff push. They're sitting in third in the Metro Division. This win would go a long way towards helping them potentially start looking at locking this spot up. They still have 4 more games after this one tonight, so it is getting a little early to start thinking about locking up a playoff spot, but not much, because with every win, they start getting those 2 points and 2 more points, and eventually they put the next closest team behind them, really out of reach. So this has been big. They've won 8 out of their last 11 games. People around here, as they say, are getting flyered up, the fans, getting all excited about this team potentially having a playoff series to play in. And it's been a long time, as we've talked about, since the Flyers have had a playoff game here with fans in attendance. Last time they were in the playoffs was 2020, and that, of course, was during COVID. So a good game going on so far. They're up 4-1 against New Jersey. We'll see if they can keep it going in that third period.
Yeah, beat Jersey, win the world.
Yeah.
I wish it were that easy, though. Of course, it takes a lot more skill than just being able to say it. Okay, so from the Flyers to the Phillies, I heard they've got some games going on as well. What's going on with them?
So the Phillies last night were behind, didn't really have a lot going, and then all of a sudden the bats woke up late in the game. Bryce Harper had a big hit that tied the game up. Then Alec Boehm followed it up behind him, and the Phillies took the lead. They never looked back. That was in the 7th inning. So they came back and beat the Giants, and that's been a tough place for this team to win over the last decade or so. In fact, it was the first time that they'd won a series opener in San Francisco since 2014. So it had been a while. It was a big win. They're now 3-1 on their road trip. They play again tonight. They don't start playing there for another hour. 9:45 is when they're expected to do first pitch out in San Francisco. Phillies with a little bit of a different lineup. Chris Sanchez is the starter. He finished second in the Cy Young Award last year, which is a big award for pitchers. So the Phillies believe they've got the right guy on the mound tonight to potentially go win another one. We'll see what they can do, but they haven't won a series in San Francisco since 2013, so they're really trying to erase some bad history over the last 12, 13 years. We'll see if they can get it done tonight.
2013? Okay,
Yeah.
well, we're going to make some
time ago.
magic happen, I hope.
Yeah, hopefully they can.
Yeah, that's weird to say. Yeah, 2013, it was more than 10 years ago, more than a decade ago. Wow. Okay, so another thing that everybody's keeping their eyes on, of course, the national championship game. Michigan and UConn, what can you tell me about that?
That ended up being a good game last night. Michigan ultimately was able to get it done. It seemed like UConn was a team of destiny. They had a big buzzer beater to get past Duke earlier in the tournament, and UConn had begun their tournament run here in Philadelphia. That's where they played their first and second round games, got all the way to the Final Four, all the way to the championship game. But ultimately Michigan, who really I think deserves a lot of credit for the run they went on, the Wolverines did in the tournament. Their margin of victory was pretty lopsided. They seemed to handle everybody. Now, the game did get close late last night and towards the end of the game, but Michigan held off UConn and won just its second national title in school history. The last time they had won a national title was 1989. So definitely a lot of partying, a lot of celebrating going on in Ann Arbor. I'm sure they're still celebrating that national championship win from last night, even today.
Yeah, I bet. Okay, so keeping things back locally, Flyers, Phillies, those are the teams to watch tonight. We are hoping that we see some good things happening for both of them. And of course, we'll be checking back in with our sports team in just a little bit to see how things are progressing. Scott, thank you for giving us this breakdown on everything we can expect tonight and some of the headlines from this earlier this week as well.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
No problem. All right. So you guys, we are going to take a quick step back. But when we come back, remember, I've got a big question for you guys. This is part of my segment called What You Think. Just to give you a little teaser for it, the big question is there a polite way to tell your coworker that they stink? Yes, no, and then if so, how do you do it? We'll talk about all of that and more when we come back. Hey guys, welcome back to Philadelphia Live. I'm our Jake Leonard back up to the desk because I want to know what's Philly talking about tonight.
Yeah. So right now, the top trending story on our site is actually a really sad one. So Joanne did a great story about it earlier. You can find it on fox29.com. So basically what happened was there was a big fire that broke out on Smithville Road in East Hampton Township. It happened today, April 7th. And what happened was the homeowner was away at work and this fire broke out, completely destroyed the house. And I guess he had a lot of dogs. So nearly a dozen dogs unfortunately died in the fire. So a few did manage to escape through a side door that was open. Approximately 10 others were recovered from the rubble, and 2 that were rushed to a nearby animal hospital unfortunately did not survive. So the damage was really bad. The house was completely destroyed. It was, just rubble and brick, and it was actually declared completely unsafe by the crew, so they just dismantled it. So when the crews went in, they saw hoarding conditions, which made it harder to get through, and the neighbors of the homeowner are reporting that there might have been some sort of dog breeding thing going on, because there was a big litter of huskies on the property. So now officials are kind of looking into if there was an animal welfare situation going on and if there needs to be kind of an investigation into that. So
that is horrible. Very sad story there. One thing that I want to make sure that I let people know, this is something I found interesting when I looked into it. A lot of people experiencing hoarding tendencies, but I found out that that's actually on the spectrum of obsessive compulsive disorder. So it's a whole spectrum. You've got some people that continue the same action over and over again. Some people who you see as being like extreme neat freaks or germaphobes, but then there's also the other end where they can't seem to get rid of things. So sometimes when you see somebody who may have hoarding tendencies, it could be a mental health issue. But very sad about those dogs.
Yeah, a very, very sad story.
Have we heard anything about maybe the community coming in, or right now is it just an investigation?
Right now it's just the investigation.
Okay.
This is still like pretty new and it's still
Okay.
developing, but as we find more details, we'll keep you updated on all our social platforms and on our website. So.
Goodness gracious. Well, this is about to be a very big shift, but I do want to get into our question of the night as well. It's a segment that I have been calling What You Think, because I want you guys to weigh in. This is an interactive chat where you guys can weigh in with me in real time. We're looking at our TikTok live stream chat as well as YouTube and a couple of other pages. So earlier today, Jake knows this, I was scrolling on Threads, and I see this young lady who has put together this wonderful anonymous letter because she wants to tell one of her coworkers, hey, you stink. Just plain and simple, just like that. But she wants to do it in a nice way. And so my question before getting into all the details is there a polite way to tell your coworker that they smell?
Right.
How do you do that?
So we took that, we posed it, we made it to the Go Vote. You can always find it at fox29.com/Go Vote under the Fox Local tab. We asked people, would you tell a coworker they smell? So yes, they need to know, in the lead 79%, and then no, that's rude, is at 21%. So
I still can't believe that you guys are like, yes, I'm gonna tell you.
No, yeah, we have a lot of responses coming in. This is creating quite the conversation.
Read some of them out to me.
So the one person says, absolutely, get away, LOL, while I'm spraying my Febreze. Another person said, everyone says they would do it, but it's tougher than you think, which I feel like that's a really good point. I know it's one thing to be in the comments being like, oh, I would say something, but if you were in that position, it would be really hard.
A lot of you don't actually want to hurt someone's feelings. It's a lot easier to do behind a keyboard.
No, exactly, because I feel like that's ultimately what this comes down to. You would be hurting someone's feelings, like no matter how nicely you try to do it,
Then somebody has to come to terms with the fact that, well, hey, maybe I do. Maybe I do smell a little bit.
Someone said that's the supervisor's job. Another person said yes, politely in private, which kind of circles back to what we were talking about earlier, because she was talking about doing the letter, and we were saying I think it would be different if it kind of came to her and said, look,
100%.
rather than kind of calling her out in an anonymous letter,
I want to read too. I got some comments on Instagram. David Seeley says there's no way to say this nicely. Then we have someone else who says, I would openly to the, oh wait, this is a joke. Okay, hold on. I would openly say to this coworker, hey you, with a smiley face, is there something wrong? So I don't know. And then another person, which I found interesting, they said they also saw that same thread that I was talking about.
Okay.
They actually had commented on it. She says, I told her not to give that letter to her coworker, one, because it was in her handwriting, so it's easy to identify her.
True.
Also, it's now on the internet. It's
Yeah.
very easy to identify
Pretty easy to
you.
trace.
But that she should talk to a direct supervisor and let the supervisor and HR handle the situation. That letter would probably cause more harm than good and would probably embarrass her coworker.
Yes.
The coworker doesn't need to know a bunch of his coworkers are talking about his odor. Hopefully she didn't give him the letter. And that kind of speaks to something that you said earlier.
I feel like that's actually a really good point. That would be a good way to handle the situation.
Yeah.
Maybe going to HR and having them deal with it rather than, the person feeling like it was kind of like a direct attack.
Yeah. Or like a secret mean girl thing that
Yeah.
you guys were doing in the office.
Right.
And by the way, I did stick around in the comment section, and it does look like she decided not to give this person that letter.
Good.
But also, if that coworker, I don't know, if you've gone to work multiple days in a row or multiple weeks in a row and haven't noticed that you smell, maybe you would read that and not even think it's about you.
Right. Yeah.
So, I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, we always want to know what you think, so you can vote. Let the people know where they can go, Jake.
So many places. You can go fox29.com/go vote under the Fox Local tab, or you can go on Instagram, Fox29 Philly. It's on our Instagram story. You can hear the full story and swipe up and leave a little comment. You can go on Facebook. You can even get in the TikTok chat and let us know what you think. There's so many places. We want to hear from you. We want you to get involved. You know, that's what we're doing here. We want to get the people going.
Yeah, this is Philadelphia Live for a reason, you guys. We do things live. We do things raw. It's not quite like your typical news program. We do things a little more unbuttoned over here.
Yes.
All right. So, Jake, thank you so much for bringing that to us. I do want to remind you guys that we are keeping our eyes on this situation, this very developing situation with Iran, where we did hear President Donald Trump has issued a ceasefire deal. This was made thanks to Pakistan, but with us and Iran, that for the next 2 weeks they would not be attacking one another. They also say that they would reopen the Strait of Hormuz. So again, there have been protests that we've been able to dip into live every now and again. I'm not sure if any are still going on, but if they are, we'll bring them out to you live. We'll also be talking about Artemis II and the mission around the moon. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back to Philadelphia Live. I'm Judea Murray. There's a lot happening around our neck of the woods. We'll get into some of the brighter stories in just a little bit, but I do want to keep you all updated because I see you mentioning it over and over again in our TikTok chat, and I'm making sure that we are talking about the stories that you care deeply about. This ongoing conflict with Iran. We just heard from our president that we are going to experience a 2-week ceasefire. So what's going to happen here? The U.S. promises not to attack Iran. Iran promises not to attack the U.S. They also promise to reopen the Strait of Hormuz, where a lot of countries get their oil, their fuel, all passing through that channel. So if they are able to keep that open, that could mean cheaper gas prices for you. Fingers crossed, we'll keep our eyes on it. I've also been saying that I'm really interested in seeing where the market opens up tomorrow morning because, you know, some of us, our stocks have been struggling as this conflict has been going on, but it could be that after hearing some good news like the ceasefire deal that we see things skyrocket. So definitely interested in seeing where it opens in the morning. We'll try to get you guys a live look at that tomorrow if you join us on Fox 29, Fox Local, Philadelphia Live as the days proceed in the future. And another thing that we're keeping our eyes on, there have been protests all around the U.S. Earlier, we were able to give you a live look from the streets of Philadelphia. We also saw one happening in New York. And of course, Artemis II as well, making that trip to and around the moon. No, you all, they did not land on the moon, though. This whole trip has been designed to learn a little bit more about deep space. whether or not humans can really thrive there, what it would take to eventually have a space station out there, and then could we one day make it to Mars? These are the kinds of questions that they wanted answered with this Artemis II mission. And of course, in a couple of days, we are supposed to see splashdown. I believe it's going to happen over the Pacific Ocean. And when that day comes, our 4 astronauts, our 4 brave astronauts who have made this trip all the way out to the moon, going deeper than any man has ever gone before, they will be able to speak a little bit more about what they got to see out there, how the experience was, and then of course I'm sure they are most excited about getting to see their loved ones again. All right, now remember, said that we were going to bring you back closer to home with some feel-good news. I heard that there is a youth dragon boat team, try saying that 10 times fast, that has a new opportunity available to them, and it may take them overseas. Let's get on right out to our Shawnette Wilson, who's been covering this story. Talk to me about this team, what they've been doing, and then where they're heading.
It's a pretty big deal, Judea. There are 12 youth who are going to be doing something that they never dreamed they'd have a chance to do. They are going to be representing the USA in a World Dragon Boat competition this coming summer. So they are headed to Asia in August, and they're going to be competing in Taiwan. So we came out to FDR Park today in South Philly, which is where they practice, and they were getting in some work and also just celebrating the fact that they've secured a spot in this world competition. And, so the way that they did that is that, they had been competing in some pretty high profile races in different places and winning medals. And then also the story of the youth that belong to this team. The coach says that many of them are, refugees, immigrants, all of them come from low income families around the city, and they have really overcome some challenges to kind of get where they are. They belong to Discovery Pathways, which is the program that runs the Youth Dragon Boat team. And so, this was a program and a Dragon Boat team that started, I think, maybe 3 years ago or so. So it's a fairly new team still, but many of these young people have been with the team since then. And so this particular world competition is also a big deal because last year only 4 students from this team actually got to participate on Team USA and go and compete internationally. So for the world competition, the entire team gets to go. So there are 12 youth who are going to go. They are super excited. I talked to them just before practice today. One of the students and then also the coach. Here's what they had to say.
A few years ago, first, I've never thought I'd be doing something like this, dragon boating. It has definitely given me a lot of confidence. I've never thought I'd be doing a sport, period. Going to World Championships means a lot to me because when I first joined, I've never thought that we'll be going to the World Championships. Taiwan is like a big dream for us.
They've excelled. They've found ways to really gel in the teamwork and the timing because that's what really matters in dragon boats.
All right, so that was Coach Adam Forbes, and that student was, what is her name? London Williamson, and she's 17 years old. So they are very excited about this accomplishment, excited to go to Taiwan, Judea. And I said, the competition is a big deal, right? But are you really looking forward to this? And I talked to another student as well, who we'll hear from at 10 o'clock. But a lot of these students, it's their first time not only leaving the country, but some of them the first time even getting on a plane. So they are very excited about those 2 experiences in addition to the competition. Also, going to Taiwan, experiencing another culture, trying the food, seeing some sights. So this is really a wonderful program that's giving these students, really good opportunities. Like the team, they also do volunteer work around the city. Some of them who have gone through the program have gone off to college and, have been, have earned scholarships, I should say. So they're really well-to-do kids, and many of them had never, been on the water before either. So some of them don't even know how to swim. But through teamwork, and I thought that was interesting, but through teamwork and trusting the coach, trusting the coach and learning their teamwork, they've learned to trust each other and kind of overcome their fears. So really excited for this opportunity for them again that comes in August. Also, I just want to say that, this program is solely funded by donations. So, the coach said, who's also the executive director of Discovery Pathways, the overall umbrella program, he said, we don't want any barriers for these kids. They overcome a lot of things dealing with family and school, education. So we want to make sure that they can go. So everything they do is, paid for, but it's funded through donations. So we're going to make sure that, tonight, like around 10 o'clock, once we come back on, that we have on our website, a link to their site for people who just want to donate, to anything that they're going to be doing in the near future.
This is so cool for a couple of different reasons. So first and foremost, seeing that the team is multicultural and they're going beyond the seas, they're going in the sky together, having this experience, some of them for the first time together, is really cool to see. I saw you say the young lady that you got to interview was 17. Is that roundabouts the ages of all of the kids, or is there a range?
I think there's a range of kids.
Okay.
The two that I happen to talk to today were both 17, but I think there are a range of kids, like teenage age kids. And they come from all over the city, different schools. And they seem really committed to this. I mean, just to participate in something like this, dragon boat, it's a fast-paced kind of like paddling sport, I guess. And then, it's, has the dragon head and the tail on the back. So there's all these things, and it originates from China. So all these different things that are just really cool about the sport that they are learning a lot about while learning how to do it.
How do you even figure out that this is a thing, that this is an option that you can do?
Yeah. I would guess, that they probably, put this information out in schools. I also know here, like at FDR Park where they practice, there's, brochures, or not brochures, but like signs that are in the ground that will tell you, hey, here's this program, go to our website, check it out. So, people can definitely check them out, on the website and on Instagram as well. Discovery Pathways, I think, is their Instagram. And then they also have an for like Youth Dragon Boat, South Philly.
Okay. I mean, if that's how they're doing it,
spread the word. It's an awesome program.
We will. But yeah, if that's how they're doing it, shout out to the parents and shout out to these kids who were willing to try something new. And I mean, dragon boating is something that can take you very, very far. It is an Olympic an Olympic sport. So, if they get really good, they could potentially go even further than just this world championship in Taiwan. So it's a really big deal.
Yeah. And look at how, what they did even just from last year. Only 4 of the students, were chosen to compete on Team USA. And now they figured out a way, as the coach put it, to like gel, work on their timing, their teamwork, and get faster, because he said, that is the whole thing to, the sport is your time, like being fast. So they've had to really, learn how to work together and get like, faster on the water to really be able to like qualify and get these opportunities. So they're making some progress.
Okay. Well, good luck to you all, especially when you get out there to Taiwan. Good luck on the plane too. It is an incredible experience flying, especially your first time. I remember my first time as well, when you get to look out in the window and you see like the whole world, or at least the area that you live in, is not that big. Like once you're in the sky, it all just looks so small.
Yeah, the coach said, they're going to get to see outside of South Philly. Judea, before you go, why don't you ask the boss if we can go with them in August?
Hey, listen, I'm ready down right now. I gotta drop my pen.
We have time to work on him. Passports are current. Like, we got all the stuff, paperwork already done for these big events we're having in the city, this summer. So,
yes. Why not cover
Passport loading.
Thank you for the idea.
Yes.
All right, you guys, we will keep things going. I'll let Shawnette get back to the studio to do more work on this story. She'll be bringing it to you live at 10 o'clock, right, Shawnette?
Yep.
10? All right. We'll see you at 10.
10 o'clock. We'll see you.
See ya. Okay. With that being said, I want to make sure we're also keeping base on some national stories as well. The Department of Justice is definitely a top of mind for a lot of people. We know Attorney General Pam Bondi was recently ousted, and now we have Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche in her place. Well, earlier today he spoke and he said that the DOJ is not focusing on President Donald Trump's enemies. We may have seen some instances in the past, at least the media has been pressing this issue where they think that the DOJ has been going after people who President Donald Trump doesn't like. And so he spoke and he said that that is not at all the case. He is not looking at these political enemies. Let's take a listen.
Whether or not I want this job, I did not ask for this job. I love working for President Trump. It's the greatest honor of a lifetime. And if President Trump chooses to keep me as acting, that's an honor. If he chooses to nominate me, that's an honor. If he chooses to nominate somebody else and I go back to being the DAG, that's an honor. If he chooses to nominate somebody else and asks me to go do something else, I will say, thank you very much. I love you, sir. So I don't have any goals or aspirations beyond that.
And then just a quick question on fraud, sir. CBS has done a lot of reporting on hospice fraud specifically. What are you doing to clamp down on that? Who exactly are you targeting? Doctors, owners, when it comes to hospice fraud specifically?
Yes, exactly. I mean, everybody that participates in it. I mean, you see those, that fraud is the question was about hospice fraud. And that's the purest form of stealing from the American people's pockets, in that it is a lot of money designed to help the most vulnerable among us. And so, you know, who are we prosecuting? It depends on who's committing the crime. If it's the doctor, it's the doctor. If it's the hospital organization itself, fine. If it's the families of the patient, fine. Yes.
There's been a lot.
No, behind you, sorry.
Thank you. How will you lead this department differently than your predecessor, Attorney General Bondi? Have you had any discussions with the president about what he wants you to do differently?
So I will never talk about any communications I have with President Trump. How I will lead differently, I'm not comparing myself to Attorney General Bondi. I'm going to lead the way that I've been leading as the Deputy Attorney General, which is a job that requires obviously the same type of leadership I need to have now. So.
Question on fraud, real quick. I know this position was created differently, this AAG for fraud, by the White House. Will the prosecutors working in this newly created section, will they have a different chain of command? Will they be reporting to the White House or to the Department of Justice?
No. I mean, the Department of Justice prosecutors and support staff that are in the new division are going to report to this man right here, and then this man reports to the Deputy Attorney General and the Attorney General. So that's the way that every prosecution and prosecutor in this country works, and will continue to work.
One on the weaponization. Where does the weaponization working group's work stand? Will there be reports coming out of that? Just give us a general update on that. And then, secondly, I just have a question on fraud.
So the work is ongoing and has been ongoing for 14 months now. There's been a lot of results already from that work, if not in written work product. I expect you will see written work product on some parts of the work that's been accomplished very, very soon.
Criminal investigations further?
I'm not going to talk about criminal investigation, what's driving it or not driving it. Go ahead.
Christine Nome, there's been a lot of questions about the firm tied to Christine Nome and the ads that came through that was over $200 million in taxpayer money. Is that something that would fall under the purview potentially of this new fraud unit?
Well, when you say there's been a lot of questions, you mean you all have decided to write a lot about it, hoping that it generates something. So again, I'm not talking about ongoing investigations. If you know the new fraud division and what the types of cases that it will encompass is pretty broad. But I'm not going to link it to some speculative idea or a question. Yeah.
Acting Attorney General Blanche, my question is this: a number of military and legal scholars have raised questions about bombing a nation's, all of its bridges, all of its energy structure as possible war crimes. What is DOJ's analysis of that position, and could you give us a sense of what you're advising the White House?
We support the Department of Justice, as it always does, supports the Department of War, the White House, Department of State to the extent that's involved, and our intelligence communities to the extent that that's something that's appropriate. And we provide counsel to them, and we have been doing that as you would expect. Go ahead.
You said earlier that this Department of Justice has indicted President Trump 4 times. Can you explain what you base that statement on? Because obviously you now run this department. Are you basing that on your experience as a defense lawyer for the president, or are you basing that
I
on
read it in
something-
what you wrote. What kind of question is that? He got indicted 4 times. He got indicted in Florida, and then he got indicted in D.C., and then they superseded in Florida, and then they superseded in D.C. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's not, am I breaking news there, that he got indicted 4 times by the feds? This department indicted him 4 times. Go ahead.
There's been a lot of leads been posted online about fraud in particular. Earlier this year, social media influencers have been talking about this. Are there any of those leads that have been something that have that you're not going to exclude from being part of the investigations under this new fraud unit? Particularly some of the things we saw go viral on X earlier this year.
Yeah, look, I mean, I think not just with fraud, with any crime that anybody investigates, whether it's the feds or state or local, we get leads. A lot of the ways that we solve crime is from the community and from tips. And so we saw a lot of investigative journalism or just citizens that identified what they believed to be fraud. And that's the way a lot of our cases start, not just in this space. And so, yes, I expect that, I think that if you're an FBI agent, you should be willing to take a tip from anywhere. So, in the back, yeah. You.
How specifically are you staffing the new fraud
I
division?
can't hear you.
Yeah, how are you going to be staffing the new fraud division? Like, which specific components and units are going to be pulling staff over to it? And more generally, do you have any concerns, just given the there's been a lot of discussion about AUSAs, prosecutors, and white-collar units leaving the department over the past year or being redirected to immigration cases? Do you have any concerns that you're going to have the man and women power to do the type of surge you're calling for?
So the answer to your first question is we're going to staff the new division in a combination of ways, bringing folks over that are here, using U.S. attorneys to detail their prosecutors, but they'll stay in their district, and then hiring, and so it's not limited to one place. And I have zero concerns about the narrative that exists in some of the writings from the folks in this room, from disgruntled formers and what a few disgruntled formers put on LinkedIn. Our department is prosecuting more cases than were prosecuted for 3 years, year over year, stat after stat, crime over crime. And so we can handle a lot of stuff. We can do immigration cases, robberies, drug cartels, and fraud cases. And so we're always hiring. Every administration, there's turnover. So we're no different. I think that the folks that are here, we have the best prosecutors in the world. Our U.S. attorneys are stacked with prosecutors, and they're working hard every day, and I don't think that will change. And so, no, that is, of all the concerns I have, that is not one. Back, yeah.
Thank you, sir. Cameron with Daily Wire. My question is about the emphasis on what states this could potentially be emphasized in related to fraud, sort of staffing there, and then what does the coordination look like with other agencies within the administration? Has HHS been in the loop? Has HUD been in the loop? Are there any particular programs outside of hospice that are major focuses?
So there's every state. So as I said, we're going to do a combination of building up the division here in D.C., but then every U.S. Attorney's Office, which necessarily means every state, and in many states more than one, will have at least one prosecutor dedicated to this effort. And yes, every single federal agency is involved in this. Where we get a lot of our cases from the OIGs, from their inspector generals. And so we're working, I know that Colin has already reached out and had ongoing communications with virtually, if not every one of them, and that will continue. HSI will be a big partner in this effort. FBI, every federal agency already does fraud. So we're not saying, hey, can you guys start investigating something you've never investigated before? It's really, again, just re-energizing us and saying, listen, we're doing a lot of fraud prosecutions, and it's the tip of the iceberg, and so we need to focus a lot more energy and effort on that. It's nothing that we've seen before, and it will require a lot of coordination, and that's the goal. Yes.
Mr. Acting Attorney General, can you just expand on your comment that nobody has any idea why Ms. Bondi is no longer the Attorney General? It seems like it's kind of a problem if you don't know what it is the President wants you guys to be doing better.
that's an assumption that baked into your question that I don't know that it's true. I mean, the point is that I don't operate every day trying to second guess what President Trump or anybody else is thinking. I just operate every day on doing everything that I need to do to execute the president's agenda and priorities. And I'm not alone in that. I hope every single person that has the privilege to serve in this administration is doing exactly the same thing. So what I was commenting on, and to expand on my comment, is that I grow tired of people in the media saying why President Trump did or did do something, because President Trump's the only one that knows that. And so that was I meant nothing more and nothing less than that, that President Trump's decision for making the decision he did are his own and nobody else's. Whether or not I want this job, I did not ask.
So again, you were listening in there to Todd Blanche. He's the acting attorney general in place for Pam Bondi, who was ousted not too long ago. He was talking about the DOJ's focus, what he thinks the plan is ahead of time. And then that last question got a little spicy when a reporter asked him what he knew about Pam Bondi's ousting, and if he knew what the president wants him to do better as he is the acting attorney general. Of course, there's still time to determine whether or not someone else will be appointed in that place, but for now he is taking that spot. All right, you guys, looking ahead, I want to talk to you about this ICE shooting that happened out in California. We have more details on that when we come back. Welcome back to Philadelphia Live. I'm Judea Murray. We got a lot of news for you, including a shooting that happened out in California that we're hearing involved ICE. We'll get to that in a second, but first, I want to get you your live forecast and turn things over to Kathy Orr. Kathy, what are we expecting for the week ahead?
Well, we're looking at temperatures that are slowly going to be on the climb, Judea. I mean, it's good news.
Okay.
A couple days in the 50s and 60s, transitioning into the 70s, and it just goes up from there. It's been a very unusual spring in the Delaware Valley where we've seen temperatures in the 80s, then the 50s, 80s, then 50s. Now we're going to go 50s to 80s in the next several days. So Philadelphia right now looking good, 46 degrees. We are anticipating temperatures falling below freezing and a freeze overnight tonight. So it's 36 degrees in Allentown, already 27 in the Poconos and 40s elsewhere, which is typical if those were the overnight lows, but we're going to go much lower than that. When you look at the country as a whole, the whole eastern, I would say, third of the nation really in the cold, and it's going to stay that way at least for the next couple of mornings. So typically in Philadelphia, wake up to about 41 degrees, but it's going to be 11 degrees cooler tomorrow morning, falling below freezing. Elsewhere in the suburbs, the 20s, so feeling much more like winter, and that's why the National Weather Service put out a freeze warning for most of the region through mid-morning tomorrow. So any type of sensitive plants or vegetation will be in jeopardy or threatened overnight tonight. During the day tomorrow, we go from 30s to 50s. So at the bus stop or on your way out the door, maybe the raincoat with the lining or the winter jacket with the lining, because it's going to be cold. And then by the afternoon, not much wind, but temperatures around 50. We should be around 60 this time of year. Want to go get the car washed? Do it any day. Tomorrow, right through the weekend, we stay dry and we stay on the sunny side of this forecast as temperatures begin to warm. So 50s tomorrow, 60s for Thursday, more like April. And then by the weekend, we're talking about temperatures around 70. And then next week, it gets even better, tapping into the 80s for next Monday. Tuesday near 90. And I love this 10-day trend, Judea. I love to show it because you see the whole next 10 days and how temperatures really rise. And then when they fall late next week, we're falling into the 60s instead of the 40s, and that's a good trend. And by that time, we're halfway through the month of April, typically a rainy month for us. So far, not so much, and we do need the rain.
Okay, yeah, it does look good. You mentioned the 10-day forecast right now is giving you a smile on your face. I'm looking at it too. April is actually my birthday month, so right now we are on par to have a very warm spring-like April, and I am all very, very much so happy about it.
There you go, just for you, just for you.
Thank you. Nice little gift for me, a nice early birthday gift. All right, Kathy, I'm going to let you go. Oh, you know, you got to get ready for the 10 o'clock news. You guys stay with me, though, because we're going to talk about this shooting that happened out in California that involved ICE. A lot of people had their eyes as the chopper flew over that situation. I actually grabbed some video from it to share with you all. Now, a freeway in California was shut down, just partially, but still shut down earlier today after Immigration and Customs Enforcement officers shot someone in Patterson, California. So now ICE identified that person as Carlos Ivan Mendoza. They say he was an 18th Street gang member who's wanted in El Salvador. They claim he's wanted for questioning in connection to a murder that happened. Now, as officers approached the car, Mendoza, and I quote, weaponized his vehicle in an attempt to run an officer over. That's according to the officers who reported this situation. Those ICE officers then fired defensive shots. They say it was to protect themselves, their fellow agents, and the public. Mendoza was taken to the hospital. And if you don't know, the 18th Street gang, according to the U.S. Department of Justice, is considered a Los Angeles large street gang, actually their largest street gang. They say they've got members hailing from all over the United States, from Mexico, and from Central America. So their viewpoint definitely has been to try to eradicate this group. So again, ICE participated in that shooting. That alleged gang member was rushed to the hospital. They say he's wanted for questioning in connection to a murder in El Salvador. All right, when we come back, we still got some sports news to look into. I know the Phillies are playing tonight. We're also keeping our eyes on the Flyers, so we'll be checking in with our sports team when we come back. Welcome back to Philadelphia Live, you guys. I brought Jake Leonard back up to the desk with us, and that's because I want to know what's Philly talking about.
So we have a pretty big, well, I think it's big, pop culture update.
Okay, lay it on me.
Exclusive, this is just coming out. Aubrey Plaza, you might know her from Parks and Rec. She's pregnant with her first baby.
Oh, wait, I know her. I don't know her by name, but I know her face very, very well.
Yes.
Okay.
So she's pregnant and expecting her first child with partner Chris Abbott. So apparently they work together on an off-Broadway play and in a 2020 film, Black Bear. So I'm so happy for her.
Congratulations.
But I'm very happy for her, especially because she's had a really tough year. Her husband passed away. I think it was about a year ago. He committed suicide.
Oh.
Yeah, so it was a really sad story, but I guess she is a new partner and she's pregnant. So good for her. I think, I don't know, I'm trying to find details about the new partner, but it looks like she was just at Paris Fashion Week and she was wearing some big clothes to keep it under wraps, but
they always do.
Yeah.
Do you remember the not to put it on someone else, but the Super Bowl when Rihanna was performing? Oh my goodness. I was working digital for Atlanta at the time, and I remembered we saw her and everybody was like, no, she's not pregnant.
Yes.
Like, that jacket is not fooling me. That little red jacket.
I remember I was with a group of friends and we were watching the performance and someone was like, oh my gosh, she's pregnant. Like, she's announcing her pregnancy. And other people in the group were getting so mad. They were like, don't say that about her. Like, that is so rude. And then everyone was like so divided. And then afterwards it was like, she is pregnant. So
yeah, you can. I feel like you can always tell. They start wearing baggy clothes, and all of a sudden they don't want to turn to the side.
It's like when, like in the early 2000s, when they're like the sitcoms, when someone was pregnant, they would just like have the thing. They would be like hidden behind like a box, or like have like a laptop open. So, funnily enough, I think Parks and Rec, the show that Aubrey Plaza was on, they did that a lot with Amy Poehler and Rashida Jones. So maybe if there's like a revival or something, she would be doing that.
Well, yeah, congratulations to her.
Congratulations to her.
I am sorry to hear that I didn't realize that I don't keep up with her enough, I guess, as I should. So I didn't know that happened a little while ago, but good to hear that, she's in higher spirits and that she's going to be welcoming a little bundle of joy soon.
So congratulations to her.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. Okay. Well, hold on. Don't go anywhere just yet. We got one more minute. I want to ask you, our question of the day is, what you think. Is there a polite way to tell a coworker that they smell bad? And I'm not asking you for any reason.
Whoa.
I found this on Threads. A girl said that she needed to let her coworker know that other coworkers have been talking about him. And wanted to know what was going on there. Let's see if we can read maybe like 2 comments that we've gotten.
So this person said just put a note on their desk, anonymously informing them of their BO, which that's the original scenario involved a note, and we were very
an anonymous note, yeah.
Yeah. So another person, this person told a little story. She said there was a girl many years ago at the company who smelled. The girl that shared a small office with her was nauseous, so she told her manager, who had to call her in and tell her, and she quit shortly after that.
Well, we talked about that. That's an embarrassing thing.
No, it is. Like, especially when it becomes like a bigger deal than like it actually is. So like obviously this situation, people were like talking about it and going back and forth and kind of like blowing it out of proportion.
Yeah.
So.
Well. All right, so you guys can weigh in as well. We've got this question going on social media. We also have our Go vote if you still would like to weigh in to see if they're on your screen.
Yes, check it out. Fox29.com/Go vote Fox Local tab.
And while we're talking about smells, I want to check in with our sports team. Scott Grayson is on standby for us. I take it you've smelled a lot of different things in those those locker rooms that you've been in while interviewing different people. Have you ever had to tell somebody that they smelled a little ripe?
No, I have not had to tell anyone. There have been times where, you have to kind of like eat your words, right? You're like, what do I say now, right? No, but no, I've not actually gone through with telling someone that. Yes.
Okay, all right, you're a good person. Well, let's check in on the scores. How are the Flyers doing?
Flyers won. Game just ended a few minutes ago. They won 5-1. So I should say easy. They scored 2 goals to start the game. They were up 2-1. Then they scored 2 more in a relatively short period of time. Kind of cruised through the third period and added 1 more. It was an empty net goal, and they beat the Devils handily, 5-1. So with 4 games left, they're really starting to solidify a playoff spot as they go through the rest of the way here, and it's getting real exciting for these Flyers fans. So the Flyers will have 2 more road games, and then they'll come home for the final 2 games of the regular season, and I expect that arena to be rocking.
For sure. Anybody who hated on them, I hope you're eating your words right now. I also hope I'm not speaking too soon. I'm knocking on the wood for them. All right, we are also keeping our eyes on the Phillies. Is that game still going on, and if so, how are we doing?
No, they'll start in about 10 minutes or so.
Oh, Lord,
because
okay.
they're all the way out west. So with the time change, it's only going to be 6:45 out there when they start, but 9:45 here. But anyone who does tune in to watch that game now, because you're all excited and not tired after watching the Flyers win, you're going to see a different Phillies lineup tonight. Alec Boehm is getting a rest. Edmundo Sosa playing third base for him. They've got some other changes in the lineup as well. So Adolis Garcia going to be batting 4th. JT Realmuto's batting 6th. He normally hits 8th. But they've got a lot of right-handed bats in the order to face the lefty that they're going to face tonight from the Giants. And Christopher Sanchez pitching for the Phillies. He's been just awesome going back to last year. So if you're looking for something to do, the Phillies start in a little over 5 minutes. You can watch that.
Okay, sounds exciting. Thank you for walking us through our biggest sports headlines of the night. Before I let you go, there may be something that you see that maybe I don't have my eyes on just yet. Are there any other headlines that you want to run through with us?
The only other thing we were keeping our eye on tonight was just the Blue Jackets Red Wings game in the NHL, just because it would affect the Flyers. And what you wanted to happen there was for the Red Wings to beat the Blue Jackets. They were in the final minute of that game last I saw in here. I'll just pull it up real quick. Just 20 seconds left. The Red Wings are winning right now. That would help the Flyers get even more of a cushion between them and the Blue Jackets in the division standings. So that's one thing we were watching, and that is working in the Flyers' favor right now.
All right. Well, anybody who is interested, of course, in the next couple of minutes, as you mentioned, the Phillies will begin their game. We'll see how they do as the 10 o'clock news progresses. So we'll be seeing you again a little later on, or maybe even Marcus, giving us another look at what's happening.
Yeah, no, it'll be me. Marcus, okay. I sent him home for the day, not because he smelled, but because I thought he needed to get a little rest.
You are a good person. All right, Scott, thank you so much.
All right, you got it.
You guys, still ahead. Got a big story to run through with you all. You may remember those 2 fire chiefs who were killed in a crash out in Berks County. God bless you. Out in Berks County. And hey, it's a habit, Anyway, those 2 firefighters who were killed in a crash out in Berks County. Just earlier today, officials were discussing that crash, any information that we've gotten since. I want to let you guys listen in to that soundbite when we come back. Welcome back to Philadelphia Live. I'm keeping up with you guys in our TikTok live stream chat. Someone asked, where is the rocket? Don't worry, I got you. Let's take a live look right now on Orion. This is a camera that's attached to the outside of the aircraft where you guys can see them making their way through space. As we know, yesterday they finally made their way to and around the moon, and now they're on their way back to Earth. In a little while, in a couple of days, actually, they'll be making splashdown out in the Pacific Ocean. And we actually have some video that is being fed back to us from NASA where you can see that area, again, where that aircraft, that spacecraft is supposed to be landing. You see them still working on it, making sure that everything is in place, but that's what it's going to look like when that does happen. We are hoping that we can live stream that. We made history with this mission. Again, the whole purpose, while they didn't land on the moon, is to determine whether or not humans can really sustain life, thrive out there in deep space, and then maybe even one day make their way to Mars. So it was a very big deal, something that we haven't done since 1972, sending someone to the moon. Now, back here closer to home, you may have heard out in Berks County, 2 fire chiefs were killed in a crash. Well, today law enforcement officers say that there are some new details that they want to share into the investigation. That crash killed Fire Chief Jeffrey L. Buck and his assistant Fire Chief Robert R. Schick Jr. of the Walnut Town Fire Company. This all happening last Saturday. I want to let you listen in to what some of those Pennsylvania leaders have told us, these new details in that investigation. Let's listen in together.
My name is John Adams. I am the District Attorney of Berks County. With me today is Assistant District Attorney Jason Glessner, Fleetwood Police Chief Dale Allsafer, and Sergeant Thomas Vogt, also of the Fleetwood Police Department, and a representative of the Walnut Town Fire Company, Lieutenant Brian Tyson. I thought that it was appropriate to have this news conference here at this fire hall. This is a shocking loss for this community. And let me first offer my sincere and deepest condolences to the families of Fire Chief Jeffrey Buck and Assistant Fire Chief Raymond Schick Jr. Robert Schick Jr., sorry. We share in their pain in this tragic incident that resulted in the loss of life to 2 volunteer firefighters and leaders of this fire department. This is a small community. This community is grieving. The fire company is grieving. Losing 2 leaders of this fire company by a tragic criminal motor vehicle accident is very difficult. And these individuals were volunteers. They gave their time to benefit others, and we need volunteers in our communities, and to lose their life while volunteering makes this even more tragic. So let me speak briefly about what happened. On April 4th, first responders in the Fleetwood area, including members of the Walnut Town Fire Company, the Fleetwood Police, search and rescue agencies, and other fire companies, were searching for a 60-year-old missing female. It was not just this Walnut Town Fire Company. There were numerous fire companies, search and rescue, police, looking for this 60-year-old woman. During the search, the fire chief and the assistant fire chief were in a UTV vehicle. The UTV vehicle was on the shoulder of the road on Route 222, and I know in the affidavit of probable cause it refers to Kutztown Road. That's the name of the road also. Most of us refer to it as 222. The UTV was southbound, on the southbound shoulder, facing north. It was on the shoulder. The UTV was, if it was moving, it was not moving very, very fast. The defendant's vehicle, a Toyota Camry, and it wasn't his vehicle, by the way, the vehicle he was driving was a Toyota Camry, and that vehicle was traveling south on Route 222. He was weaving back and forth on the roadway. And we have a number of witnesses who watched this vehicle. It was weaving. We've also located some dash cam video of this area at the time of the accident from other vehicles. The Toyota Camry, while it's traveling southbound, left his lane of travel and drove onto the shoulder of the roadway, which is not permitted. And that's where he hit the defendant's vehicle, the UTV, head on. The firefighters were in the UTV on the southbound shoulder. They were facing northbound. Immediately after this accident, the witnesses told police that the two individuals who were in the Toyota Camry immediately fled the scene. And they were found shortly thereafter as a result of a witness spotting them and calling 911, and they were found on Krause Road, which is nearby. The defendant and the passenger were apprehended by several responding police officers, and they were immediately detained. The defendant driver, Alexander Sepulveda Rivera, was one of the individuals detained on Krause Road. He was immediately, after being Mirandized, was interviewed, and he admitted driving the vehicle. He said he fell asleep, and he admitted he had smoked marijuana the same day. He was also found with a crack pipe, and he admitted that that crack pipe was his. Responding police believed the defendant was under the influence of a controlled substance and that he was incapable of safe driving. By the way, the driver, the defendant, did not have a driver's license. And I believe he never had a driver's license, but we are looking into that. He did submit to a blood test. We are awaiting the toxicology. We would expect to have that toxicology results back within the next 5 to 7 days. We're not certain why he drove onto the roadway, onto the shoulder, other than that he was under the influence of most likely controlled substances. He was driving in a reckless manner and in a manner where he should not have been behind the wheel of this vehicle. We have charged the defendant with 2 counts of homicide by vehicle while driving under the influence, 2 counts of homicide by vehicle, accidents involving death or personal injury, accidents involving death or personal injury while not properly licensed, DUI, drivers required to be licensed, driving on roadways laned for traffic, reckless driving, 2 counts of involuntary manslaughter, careless driving, driving vehicle at safe speed, immediate notice of accident to police department, and duty to give information and render aid. This accident happened Saturday, 5-ish. The defendant was charged with these offenses late Sunday evening. He was immediately, once detained at the scene, a check revealed that he had an outstanding bench warrant out of the Court of Common Pleas, and he was detained and arrested and taken to Berks County Jail on Saturday evening as a result of that bench warrant. It turns out that he had a second bench warrant for a second pending charge in the Berks County Court of Common Pleas. Those two bench warrants were handled in court on Monday, and his bail was revoked on one of those charges, and his bail was set at $25,000 on the other charge. He was also arraigned on the charges that I just stated to you on Monday morning by Magisterial District Justice Gail Greth, and bail was set at $500,000. This was a tragic, fatal, horrific accident. Both victims were pronounced deceased soon after the accident, one at Lehigh Valley Hospital and the other at the Reading Hospital. Two lost lives. Two first responders lost their life in the line of duty, caused by an individual who never had a driver's license, who had no respect for the law. Our communities in Pennsylvania rely on our volunteers to fight fires, respond to accidents, search for people who are lost, and they're losing their life in the line of duty is not what they or their families bargained for. This is an ongoing investigation. We are waiting for the final toxicology results and for the final accident reconstruction report. If the defendant is convicted of these charges, he faces many years behind bars. I cannot even describe in words the loss that has occurred when we lose the life of two volunteers who are out helping our communities. It makes it just hard to swallow. And my deepest, heartfelt condolences go to these families, this fire company, and all of the people associated with this case and this investigation. I think I have just a few other comments. We have not found the owner of the vehicle. We are still looking for him, searching to find him because we are not sure of the ownership. Of course, we know who was driving. We don't know if he had permission. We're still looking for him. And as I said, it's an ongoing investigation. Thank you. I would like to turn this over to Chief Dale Olshafer of the Fleetwood Police at this time.
So a very tragic case that we are learning more information about because of that press conference that happened a little earlier today. I'm glad you guys were able to listen into it with me. Now, I do want to let you know that up on our website, we do have more information on this, as well as that press conference, if you'd like to hear a little bit more of what was talked about. Again, they said that they're awaiting that toxicology report and the full report of the deadly crash as that investigation does continue. With that being said, you guys, thank you so much for joining me here on Philadelphia Live. I'm Judea Murray on all platforms. If you'd like to follow me, talk to me a little bit more about what you want to know ahead. And of course, I've got my question of the night every single night. You guys can interact with me in real time. That being said, the news does continue at 10 o'clock, so don't go anywhere.